On. And we are live. It looks like we
Hey
got
guys, we are live today. We want to get into a deep discussion about ninjas. Of course, I'm here with the co-host Brian the Beast Robinson. He's a amazing Mantis kung fu fighter as well. but our guest is having technical difficulties. Unfortunately, John Buchanan, who ran a ninja podcast, we're hoping to get him on here soon. But despite that, we could still talk about a few things. If you guys want to comment or ask any questions, please do so in the comments section. So, one thing that I'll just plug real quick, if you guys have not seen the trailer to The Last Kumite yet, check it out, man. I put it on my channel. It's on a few other channels. It looks amazing. I make a brief cameo in there. It was such an honor to work with all those martial art legends, the greats. You got Cynthia Rothrock, Billy Blanks, Muhammad Kisi, Matthias Hughes, Kurt McKinney, everybody, and you could see them all in the trailer. Does a good job of showcasing all the greats. So that was a really fun project to be a part of. So while we wait for John, who hopefully gets here, you want to give us a little bit of history and what you know about the ninja world, Brian?
actually there's, believe it or not, there's very little literature on it because from what is known, it was mostly from the lower class that they were recruited, and it made sense because a ninja had to fit into ordinary society. So somebody who was a ninja could be a street sweeper, work in a palace as somebody who was a cleaner or a cook, and this was like their secret ways of getting in as they blended in with the normal population. And and we're ingenious. They their idea was to overcome problems. Whereas a samurai, he was a bull. Line him up with a bunch of other guys, charge forward. That was kind of their mission. But a ninja was the assassin, the spy. So they made shoes that were very wide because they had floors in the palaces that would squeak. And I think they call them swallow floors or something like that. There's a name for it. If anybody out there knows the exact name. So when you walked on them, they would squeak and they could alert the guards. So what the ninja did was made these big, like snowshoe style things so they could walk across them and not make any noise. So yeah, and it goes. I think the last ninjas where they was real serious was like in the late 1800s, and then I think as an art it kind of started just disappearing.
Interesting. Now, as far as like the ninja mythology, did they really dress up like in all black robes and that kind of stuff, or is it just like movie stuff? Do you know?
I think there's a bit of truth and a lot of it because it is, the ninja operated at night, kind of like the U.S. Special Forces. You want to dominate the night. You're most people are asleep. It's difficult to see. So wearing black made sense, right? You cover
Mm.
completely over. You could theoretically hide in corners when sentries were walking by. So yeah, I mean, there is some truth to that, but obviously their job just wasn't the mission of a ninja wasn't just like in the movies. They're all in black and they could literally be working right next to the person that they're either spying on or they're going to assassinate. It's kind of the idea of a ninja was to be like a CIA style spy too.
Yeah, I remember seeing a show. I think it was on the Discovery Channel with Stephen K. Hayes. Of course, Stephen K. Hayes, he runs Toshindo these days, but he was, of course, like the ninja back in the 80s, Black Belt magazine cover all the time, doing articles, writing books. Actually, went to Japan back in the day to learn ninjutsu. And I have that whole full interview where he talks about his journey. So, I kind of regard him as like, I mean, his life's like a movie, basically. It's like a movie plot. And funny enough, he was directly involved with that initial canon film, Enter the Ninja. But there were too many like inaccuracies where he didn't even want his name attached to the screenplay when it came out. But he was actually originally helping them. But I think in that film, a lot of the ninja missions and whatever else took place during the daylight, and they had like bright red costumes and all this other stuff. So he was just like, oh, this is too cartoony, this is too unrealistic, I don't want my name attached, because Steven's like a real ninja, and he didn't want to just like put that kind of stuff out there of cartoonizing it, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it can go down a rabbit hole. I mean, what was the Master? That was my first introduction to ninjas back in the 80s. I don't know how many people are as old as I am. You remember that show, The Master?
No, dude, I never even heard of that.
Oh, you gotta find them, man. It was a whole like series, and it was a guy was a ninja, and that's where I don't know if that was what started the ninja craze or it was already started, and then that show came out. But I just remember everybody would watch the new weapons on that last episode, whether it was a star or the katanas. Like there was all these things that people had never been exposed to. And then when that whole series came out, it was like, yo, oh man, you see, and everybody was making stars and throwing them around. It was crazy.
Dude, like everybody had those. I remember playing with Ninja Stars in the 80s, man. And I'd shared like a story a couple times on the channel because I grew up on an army base, right? The Fort Ord, California, specifically, which is like Central California near Monterey. And we had literally a neighborhood ninja. It was a guy
Mm.
who, like, you know, every kid thought he was a ninja, and he would do demonstrations where, like, he would put an apple on a kid's head or chest if the kid was laying down, and blindfolded, literally cut it with a katana. I mean, like, that's insane if you think about it because how overprotective parents are these days, but nobody, like, blinked an eye. They're just, oh, cool, like, can you imagine, like, letting your son, hey, son, lay down here while this guy blindfold cuts a apple in half on your chest? Like, you probably wouldn't let your kid do that, right?
The guy's all drunk. Yeah.
But the dude, like, the guy legitimately did it, and he also, like, showed us stuff, like, we would all throw, like, these throwing knives in his shed, like, in his backyard, and do all kinds of cool ass stuff, man. And people from the military, like, I specifically remember growing up on the army base, like, my neighbors were doing, like, judo and jujitsu, like, back in the mid 80s. Like, like, people would be stationed overseas, and I know you were in the army yourself, stationed overseas, and they would learn these martial arts and bring them back stateside, which was very, very interesting.
That's where I actually studied praying mantis kung fu. Actually, was at Camp Casey, Korea, where I should have been learning like Hapkido or
Yeah, sure.
Taekwondo. But there was this guy who did the lethal mantis thing here.
I
Do
didn't
you
know that's
want
where
to
you
see the
picked it up.
master?
Uh-huh.
Do you want to see the master?
Yeah, sure.
I can pull it up on screen here.
Okay, yeah, pull that up, dude.
Yep, here we go. If anybody remembers this, somebody just wrote they did. So a little flash from the past here.
Oh, Show was the bad guy. Yeah, he was basically involved in anything ninja related, of course, including those Canon films back in the day.
Here we go. You can see this.
How do I get myself into these things?
I don't like how the guy shoots the gun.
You may not touch that. Just keeps getting better, don't it?
You ever swing at a man? The feeling there's real people here. The kind of build things and care about them.
Somebody, please help me!
Oh, there goes Sho Kosugi. Nice.
You might know some of these people. I'm wondering if this guy's still alive who did this series.
This show actually looks pretty legit, man. Like, I'm actually shocked I never heard of this. This is totally something like they could remake these days, I feel. I mean, it's not like there's any originality left. They might as well just remake this show, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Somebody commented, funny enough, asking if that was Demi Moore, and that's what I thought too. Like, I don't know, but it really looked and sounded like her. So maybe that was one of her early acting gigs as a guest role in that show, possibly.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what we watched, man. We'd watch every episode and we'd watch for something new. Like they had the claw thing. So everybody'd have to try to figure out how we'd make them. You try to make them.
Dude, speaking of which, you could order those in the back of Black Belt magazine back in the day, which anybody, if they ordered them, let me know in the comments if they actually tried, if those actually worked, man.
And then how many? Oh, here we go. Master with Lee Van Cliff. Who's that? Do you know who Lee Van Cliff? I saw that. It was in the credits.
Lee Van Cleef.
Lee Van Cleef.
It's familiar. I can't really think right now, but that name is very familiar. Oh, Belgian Dan's asking how you doing, Viking Samurai. Well, I'm in a cast, so if anybody's following me on Instagram or my stories or anything, I did have surgery on Wednesday. It was very successful. The outcome is going to be great because I took care of it very quickly, which you need to do within a couple of weeks if you tear a bicep. Otherwise, the outcome's not going to be good because all that scar tissue starts building up. So long story short, I get to take this off already next Tuesday on December 12th. And like I mentioned, I had this surgery Wednesday. And I'm actually going to finally go back to the gym today, which has only been a couple days. I'm going to work out legs, so I can't really use this arm much. But overall, man, I'm doing pretty damn good, all things considered.
Well, and that was because of some hard sparring we were doing.
It was such a fluke thing, man. I think a lot of it was just, 30 years of wear and tear on the tendon, literally
Yeah.
like 30 years of training. And it could have went taking out the garbage. It could have just went out lifting weights. It could have, most people who tear this thing, end up doing it moving furniture, just some stupid fluke thing with all that wear and tear, man. So it is what it is at the end of the day.
And you were doing curls the day before. Remember,
yeah, but I do curls all the time, but I'm going to be back better than ever, man. And it's all about having the right mindset, because it's really very easy to kind of get down on yourself or depressed from a setback. Like, look, everyone has setbacks in life, man. And you know what Rocky said? It's got to keep moving forward, right? Got to keep moving forward, man. So
we got to get you back, man. So you get that arm healthy. So I can't get those hooks through, brother.
We're gonna get that. Yeah, gonna get that arm nice and healthy. So, man, I wonder whatever happened to. Oh, okay. So John mentioned he said his link isn't working now. His internet was being shitty. He was here trying to connect. Okay, he said his internet's back. Can you send him like another link so he could join us?
Yep, do it right now.
And guys, sorry for the delay, but we're hoping to get this amazing guest on here.
The same link, that link will work. The same one.
Oh,
all you got to do is click that same link. Yep.
Oh, I didn't even type. Damn it. See, I'm stuck typing with one arm here, which isn't even working.
Yeah, a lot of people don't remember that move. This guy says, I don't remember this one. Actually, it is pretty good. I think back about it. Yep.
Okay, we'll see if he pops in. But this is a guy who ran a ninja podcast for a while, and he went deep into the ninja world. He's got stories related to all these guys, Frank Dukes, David Richardson, Stephen K. Hayes, Ashita Kim, and so many more. Anthony Cummins, the guy that wrote all these ninja books. So hopefully we'll get John on here.
And apparently Lee Van Cleef is more known for his Westerns.
Oh, is he?
He must have been a cowboy type guy.
The name kind of sounds like it would be, right?
Yeah, well, it sounds like he should be in a castle, being a baron or something. Lee Van Cleef.
That's a powerful name. All right, so John says he's getting reconnected here. Do you see if he's waiting to get in?
I am watching mobile like that so we can pop him in. If anybody wants to know the background, I forgot to take it off. That's Tim's. When we do Tim's podcasts.
Why are all these guys holding guns in the background, by the way?
So that was what happened was somewhere in there, I think Mitch Green is in there too. The Don King wasn't paying the fighters. He was late with their pay, and that was it. They lost their minds, and they had a revolution at the camp, and they grabbed guns, and they started shooting the whole camp up. And one of the security guys there who just stepped back and just let the fighters do the thing called them the Raiders of Boxing, and they took this picture with these jackets on called the Raiders of Boxing.
Insane boxing stories from back in the day, man.
Oh, what's his Don King, man, cheating the fighters. Do you remember Enter the Ninja? I remember that.
Of course, in that Canon Films trilogy, none of those films have anything to do with each other. So Shokasugi is in all of them. He's the bad guy in Enter the Ninja. Then Revenge of the Ninja, he's the good guy. And of course, he had the
Here we
late
are,
Stephen
John's
Lambert
here.
playing Silver Mask Ninja. Oh, we might get lucky here with
Are you
maybe.
here, John? He's being a ninja, everybody. This is just showing he can also be elusive on the internet.
Yeah,
He's here. We just can't see him.
we can't see him, or we can't hear him.
He's got his ninja skills pinging. Now I wonder if be interesting to have like some special forces Green Beret and a ninja exchange notes one time. See if there's any kind of relevance between the two of them. If they ever done training like that, that's similar. They call that covalent discoveries. I guess you can have two things that evolve separately, but they discover the same exact methodologies and stuff.
Here's a question you might know, man. So, do you think the ninjas were just recruited, or would someone specifically went out for that? Like, I want to be a ninja, and then they try to meet the right people to talk to them back in the day.
I think, probably if you look at, like, if we're just being, not getting into the extraordinary, I would imagine it was like anything. You would have a king or what do they call them? Daimios or whatever, the guys who were the big guys in charge, the princes. Here we go. He's here.
Oh, I think he's here.
It's frozen.
It's really bad video
Oh.
connection, man. That could be Bigfoot. Remember
He's
the show we had
outside.
last week?
Hunting. He's in the woods doing ninja things, That's what
Yeah.
they do. They're in the woods. So, I mean, I think they were recruited like we recruit our CIA, they were spying all the time. And that was how they recruited. So somebody who worked, they would, you would go and approach them and ask if they wanted to be a spy, or if you knew that they had maybe an affinity against that person somehow, you could recruit them, kind of like how the Russians and the Americans kind of recruit people for their side, or they paid them,
Yeah.
and then I imagine some of the higher level ones came from a clan where they were probably trained, but those were like the actual CIA agents, if you would. And then you would go out and you would recruit people to be either double agents or something like that.
That sounds like the Frank Dukes story. When you go, with his book, The Secret Man, he was recruited.
Well, see, my theory has some weight then.
Modern day ninja, man. Frank Dukes.
Modern day. Here we go.
Oh, John, can you hear us, man? Boy, his connection looks worse than dial-up. Look at that. Like, what resolution is that, dude? It's like an oil painting that's been in the sun too long, right?
Like one of those when you take a picture with your phone and the sun was wrong and this was wrong. Oh, here we go. Oh, he's already doing that. Somebody said to get peptides to heal.
No,
that.
I'm not doing that, dude. I was considering that, but I wanted to talk to the doctor to see if they could prescribe, because all that stuff they sell online, you don't know like how legitimate that is. And I heard it's pretty dangerous. So when I go December 12th, specifically, unless the doctor can prescribe me something, I'm not going to get on that. I'm going to just be taking there's a lot of things you could take, like collagen, Dermavol, vitamin C, boron, all that just natural stuff. I've been buying a lot of the chicken broth from Costco, drinking 2 cups of that every day. So unless I get, real peptides that the doctor can prescribe to aid in the healing process, I'm not going to mess with that stuff,
Yeah, I think, and lots of natural anti-inflammatories.
Yeah. What's crazy, man? Like, I don't even know which painkillers they prescribed, but apparently one of the side effects was that you can't sleep. So the first couple of days after the surgery, I didn't even literally sleep until yesterday when I got off the pain meds. And, it's not horrible. I could definitely tell something has been going on in here, because obviously they drill into the bone and there's, a scar and all this other stuff. So, I mean, I could definitely feel something was messed around in there. It feels weird, to be honest, and it's very weak right now.
And you
But
stay up late anyways. You're
I
very
do
you stay up
in
late.
general, which is not a good habit, man. Everyone, that's like my bad habit is I've always been a night owl. So if I try to wake up early, I'm just running on like 4 hours of sleep, if even, which is shitty if I'm trying to recover from this surgery, man.
Yeah.
So, but you know what's interesting experience because they gave me a nerve block. So literally this whole arm was completely dead, just flopping around. I couldn't move the fingers, the hand, nothing. But the benefit is I felt nothing for like the first 12 hours, which was kind of cool. But then, you know, I started after that nerve block wore off, I started taking the painkillers they prescribed. But like I'd mentioned, I couldn't sleep. I was wide awake at like 4 o'clock in the effing morning. And I was just like thinking, like, I need to sleep because I need to recover from this, you know, but it's like it ain't happening. So I was just up, you know, editing videos, which I need more time to do anyway. So I make the best of it. If I can't sleep, I'm just gonna lay there and think about not sleeping. I'll try to get some kind of work in, right? Dude, what's up with man? Is John's connection still that bad? This sucks, man.
Maybe a competitive clan don't want him on here, so they're doing some stuff, man.
You know, the ninja world is very secretive. They're probably trying to block him. They don't want their secrets out. Which have you ever tried to study ninjutsu at all, Brian? You ever
I
get involved in that world?
never officially. I think I got a book at one point trying to find. I was like, man, these guys are gonna have some stuff, man. And you're like, you know, I didn't learn much from the book, let's say the least, but yeah.
Well, it probably wasn't one of Stephen K. Hayes' books. Otherwise, I'm sure you would have learned a
Definitely
lot.
was
Those
not.
were the
Was
legit
not.
ones, man.
Yep, definitely was not. And yeah, I don't know. Is anybody out there an expert on the ninja, you know, and how that hierarchy worked? I think, you know, it was a secretive society. So I imagine a lot of how they actually function is not known because of the nature of it, you know?
Yeah. You know, speaking of which, a guy who's done a ton of research on the subject, Anthony Cummins, which we need to try to get on here for a live. In fact, John, you know, our guest who hasn't, you know, who's having internet connections, was actually going to actually tried setting up a seminar for Anthony Cummins, and he was going to tell us that whole story and everything that happened. So he had so many cool ass stories to share, but we're all getting ripped off right now, aren't we? Because of his lame ass internet connection.
Here we go. I hope Tim Witherspoon is sleeping better now.
Like what happened to Tim? I know he was on a live last night.
His sleep issue is the old hag syndrome, the woman who was riding his
Oh, from last week. Yeah, guys, check that out. Under the live tab on YouTube, we had you know, a paranormal investigator, a really cool conversation. But Tim talked about his interesting experience as a child, and yeah.
Yeah, he teared up. He said it was very traumatic. You know,
I know. I'm actually kind of sorry that because I think he kind of like laid that to rest, and it just surfaced back in his mind, and it messed with him. Like that wasn't obviously the point of having him on and with that guy, but that story just came out, man, and he remembered everything, and he was like almost got PTSD from it, man.
Yeah, it's very, very traumatic. There's a guy who's two-time heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali sparring partner. I mean, this guy is a monster, and he said that it still makes him afraid inside as an adult, you know. So these things, paranormal things, can, you know, have a lasting effect on people. And obviously with him, and then he started telling me the other day that he talked with his brothers and sisters, and they said they experienced a similar thing, and they used to talk about it. The witch is going to come tonight, and I don't know, man. Strange, man. People got some strange experiences out there.
Yeah. Oh, here's something that John Connor said. The ninja were masters of disguise. I've seen ancient drawings of ninja dressing as monkey trainers or laborers. A big part of what a ninja did was spycraft espionage of the time. Yeah. So when I mentioned Stephen Hayes earlier on that Discovery Channel show, like I think he was basically just trying to blend in as like a dude sweeping the street in order to infiltrate like some building, you know? So, and he said that's what ninjas would do these days, not some cool ass all black grappling hook, you know, doing cool ass flips into like some secret compound. It would just be more to just kind of like what you could do these days. Literally, if you just had like a clipboard and a suit on, you could probably get into any building out there, it looking like you're working there, right? Or an inspector. I'm sure they let you in. That's what a
It's
ninja
like
would
me
do.
walking around with you at one of the celebrity events, and every people just assume I'm I'm a somebody.
You're some power agent, right?
They look at me, say, "He got a good haircut. He's old. He must be somebody important." They start telling me, I got this movie I need financing for. It's going to be about $2 million, and they talk to me like I got that in my account.
Yeah, man. You got to quit being so stingy and start funding these films.
I know, man. God.
Hey, here's a message. Results may vary. Says, is there any ninja film, Viking Samurai, that deserves more respect that may not have been popular? Well, what do you think? Is there like a ninja film you think never got its recognition or popularity back in the day?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, a lot of them were very ridiculous. There was like the American Ninja, and some of them were just, see, maybe I'm trying to think if there was any ones that were more serious. And I do remember vaguely one that was set back in that period of time. If anybody can remember what I'm talking about, it was more set back in the Japanese, they're in the feudal times. And I think it was more historically accurate, but the name and escapes me. It was so long ago. And I think ones like that, probably were the ones that didn't get as much because they were less extraordinary in their presentation, where kids liked all the mystical stuff and throwing the ball down and you're in a room, all the doors are closed and the guy disappears, and you're like, what happened? With reality.
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head, to be honest. Well, I guess if you're talking semi-modern, though this was still like 10 years ago, I would say definitely probably the best with good production values, great martial arts, were the Scott Adkins ones. He did Ninja and he also did Ninja 2. And I think that was called Shadow of a Tear. But those, if you guys haven't checked them out, man, those are definitely worth watching for sure. And
There's
I think
two here. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think they've all planned to do a part 3, but they never ended up doing it. And a big part of the problem, man, is that, people pirate stuff. They don't pay for the Blu-ray or DVD, and they may not even wait to, view it on a streaming service they're paying for. They'll just download it, and that's the problem with a lot of martial arts and action films, because then it's hard to get funding if the distributors and nobody's making money because everybody's pirating and they're not paying for stuff. Speaking of which, make sure you guys actually pay for The Last Kumite when that comes out next year. Do not pirate that film, man. Please do not pirate that. That was a love letter to the genre. I have nothing but respect for Sean, who produced it. And the investors at the end of the day deserve to make their money back, man, because it's such a love letter to the fans and it's done in such a good way. And yeah, guys, support the movie. Definitely pay to watch it, either streaming or buy the Blu-ray. So
yeah, you got to do it because the Vikings got to pay the copay for that for his arm.
Oh, I don't even want to get into that. I'll just say insurance sucks. There's a deductible involved, and insurance usually covers a percentage of the operation, which operations are so damn expensive. So I'm not going to be happy next year when my bill comes. But, the silver lining is that I probably couldn't even get this done 100 years ago. People would just be screwed if they had that kind of injury and they couldn't get it surgically fixed. Or I might be in a country where it wouldn't even have good health care, so I'm blessed in a lot of ways, though I'm going to be hit quite a bit financially, but at least I got it fixed. So, that's the good thing, at least.
So here's a question here. I think this one's interesting. So I think, what do you guys think of the last shinobi that ever lived in, I can't even say it, but I think that was in 1868. If I remember, I read something about there was a shinobi, and I think I think that's some position in the ninjas or whatever, but I think it was actually in like the later mid 1800s, later 1800s. Anybody knows out there? I don't know a lot about it, but do you?
All I know is I only know about The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, man. I don't know about The Last Shinobi. Oh, the old Japanese guy with the purple hair. That's Hatsumi, right?
Yeah. Isn't he the one who hits people on the head with the katana? Like the guy will be sitting, he stands behind them, and the guy's got a sense when he's going to hit them. And if they don't, they get whacked on the head.
Well, as long as that thing's not unsheathed, it'll be okay. But I believe that's the guy that Stephen K. Hayes met up with in Japan, probably like what, in the 70s, and trained with him. And they were together for a while. And I think Stephen even brought him over for some seminars to the US, during the whole Ninja explosion. As far as I know, I think they had a falling out. That's what I heard. I never really got in depth about that topic. And of course, I've interviewed Stephen K. Hayes. Actually, we worked together on Warrior Island. I met him at different events. Great guy, love the guy, but I never really talked to him about Hatsumi and why they might have had a falling out. Though I should ask him. I'm very curious now that I think about it. Oh, somebody, John Connor had commented.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it popped it up on
At 12:37. Oh, a different comment.
Oh, he's got another one. All right.
I'm about to give up on John, by the way. So I've been trying to message him on Facebook to see if he's still trying, but yeah, that's disappointing, man. This is our second show. We're doing live shows every Saturday, guys. By the way, next Saturday we will make sure. Well, I mean, I guess it's out of our hands, but hopefully the guests will show up. We got Ron Hall. He's a great martial artist. He was in the Vampire Assassins movie and some other stuff. Oh, he was also in Bloodsport 2 with Daniel Bernhardt. Anyway, he's got a huge announcement that he's going to make next Saturday with Sifu Alan Goldberg, who throws the Action Martial Arts Weekend. And we're going to have another guest on as well. So it's going to be exciting, man, about a big announcement that a lot of you guys specifically will be very interested in because it involves an opportunity for some of you martial artists out there. Huge opportunity. But I'm not going to say any more for now.
So you never seen the guy who hits the guy? It's a wooden sword. It's not like a metal katana. You know what I'm talking about? The guys have to sense it. You want me to pull the video up? If it's the way he tests them.
Yeah, you could pull that up, and I'll go over this comment. Results may vary. Are you guys excited about the upcoming Dolph Lundgren documentary? I have not heard about that. I am excited. Hopefully it's a Netflix one because I know they did amazing work with Arnold and Stallone. So hopefully they will do one with Dolph, because it'll have great production values. They should also do one with Van Damme, and they should do one with Steven Seagal, who, actually Brian and I talked to him somewhat recently on the phone, but I asked Seagal about a documentary, and he said there's definitely different parties that are interested. He hasn't committed to it, but man, that guy had such an amazing life, even to this day, just the stuff he's involved with. But anyway, did you find that video, Brian?
I got it here. I'm just getting it right to where, getting through all the talking crap here. Let's see here. This must be it. Oh, there he is. Yeah, it's the dude with the blue hair.
Oh, it is the blue hair dude.
You can see him in the background. He hits them sometimes. And all right, he has one of his senior ranking students do it. All right, so I guess maybe we want to hear the noise when he gets whacked on top of the head. It's ridiculous.
Mentoring people in it. And you go up in front of the room, in front of all of your peers, and you kneel down. And then a guy with a sword gets behind you and pulls the sword up over his head and is supposed to have no intention at that moment. So you're not feeling anything from them. And then they try and cut down and hit you in the head. And you have to sense this and roll out of the way before it happens. So it's an innate sense inside of.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm sure people could develop that skill of sensing something about to happen, depending on the environment, especially, because when your eyes are closed, like the dude was blindfolded, right? It just heightens your other senses.
Yeah, I think he's looking forward. The guy's behind him, so he can't see anyways.
Oh, and I would think if he's blindfolded, it even heightens your other senses more, like hearing and all that other stuff. I'm sure you could even, feel the air a little bit, right? So, but
or
yeah,
maybe somebody's sitting in the crowd giving you hand signals.
But the thing is, like, I guess it's a cool thing to develop, but like, what use does it have? Like, how often are you going to be in a situation where someone's going to come up behind you with a sword and try to lop your head off? Like,
I don't
I
know.
don't
Like
see
I
the
said,
utility in that kind of thing these days.
maybe it builds a sixth sense for the person's next move. I mean, one could argue, you look at Mayweather. Tim will always say the reason people can't imitate Mayweather is he knows instinctively he's 1 second ahead of your next move. So when he's flowing into, in his shell, he's already anticipated. He already subconsciously knows exactly the next move you're going to make. And I mean, if that's their intent, like to build this kind of what do they call it in the Chinese marks, the knowing hand, the hand that instinctively knows what to do without cognitive thought. So maybe that's kind of what they're doing. I don't know, maybe there's some ninjas out there that can explain this better.
I guarantee you Mayweather could pass that test.
Let's do it. We should get him on there
That's
with
a video right there, man.
and try to whack him on there.
That's
Just-
funny.
I don't know. It seems a little bit, I don't know, suspect, but I mean, anything's possible.
For sure. For sure.
What's this? This guy says, I saw someone. Oh, he would, I guess somebody said that he would give him a signal. I mean, easier would to have somebody in the audience that would just give a finger sign that, kind of magicians do that kind of stuff. They have these little tricks. You could have somebody like
sure.
say he's ready to go.
Sure. Speaking of magicians, we will have a future magician guest who was also involved in the ninja world, David Richardson, great guy. I don't know how much he's going to talk about the ninjutsu, but definitely his journey into being a magician. Here's a funny comment from Richard G, by the way. If I could choose a full-time occupation, I'd want to be a full-time ninja.
I
I don't
mean,
know how many job openings there are for that these days, but
I mean, you could become like special forces. You can go and, I mean, the modern equivalent would probably be something like that, a hybrid between CIA and special operators. I mean, that's kind of
or
like
just like an
modern ninja.
assassin for the mob.
You could do that too.
You could do that too.
I mean, depends on how long you want to go to jail. I guess it'd be interesting. I would imagine really, if you did the reality of what they were doing, it's in my opinion probably be very similar to like what the CIA does. Just you'd have some people trained on a very high level to conduct operations, and then you would recruit people. You get out either through money, through bribes, or through blackmail. Or just yourself. Like they said, they're recruited from a lower class. So those who became full-time in the ninja clan, they would already have a skill. So if you looked at the guy, he wouldn't look like a ninja, because you would imagine a ninja wouldn't have hands that look like they've worked, with stone their whole life. The person would really have to have, leathery skin from being out in the sun so much. So if you've seen somebody come and they're going to be a stone worker and they have a very rudimentary understanding of it, you'd be suspicious. So, but somebody who you look at and you say, yeah, guy's hands are tore up. Those are the type of probably the most effective ninja, because they can get right in, because they look like that character. You wouldn't assume that person was some elite assassin. So imagine they worked in a common trade and trained in their ninja skills.
Mm-hmm. Last Man Standing said, I want to be an astronaut. Oh, here's a movie idea. Ninja astronauts. What do you think about that? Combining the sci-fi with ninjas.
I mean, you got to have a plot to it, what they're doing. I mean, either one.
Oh, the title sells it alone,
aliens.
dude. Who cares about the plot? That title alone will sell it.
Trying to imagine what that would look like.
Oh, man.
Ninjas in space battling aliens.
Fighting on the moon.
The moon conspiracy with ninjas. I don't know. What is this here? Those who didn't pass, Hatsumi didn't move his feet. He just whacked. That's It's true that what Connor's saying. I've watched what he's talking about. He rocks back on his heels and then down, and the other people he just pops them right on the head.
Hmm. Hmm.
Did the ninjas train dogs call did the ninja train dogs call them the assault dogs in the dark? I don't know.
I mean, you see it on video games all the time, so maybe, man. But hey, you want to plug your channel real quick, Brian, and let people know to subscribe and kind of like what content you're specifically putting out?
Yeah, my channel's right. Let me see. I'll pull it up. We'll go right. You guys? No, you can't see it. All right, here we go. Go right here, real quick. Hold on, I got to go to my home page.
Because what we're doing on these live stream, guys, is that you can watch these either on my Viking Samurai channel or Brian's channel that he's going to talk to you about. And we're trying to build this show up, doing these lives every Saturday with amazing guests. Unfortunately, our guest this Saturday couldn't make it, but we're making the best of it, man, and just kind of talking ninja stuff and other things that you guys are commenting on.
Let me do this if I paste it here, it'll paste for you and me.
Okay.
forgot
As
I
they
gotta do
say,
it
the
in
show
the
must go on, right?
Let's see here. I'm going to post. I have nobody watching it from my channel, just so you know. And that's
Okay, so
very
we got to
sad.
build up your audience, dude.
Please
So
go over to my channel. At least one person view it from my channel.
at least one person subscribe so he can at least start building some subscribers.
I got
get a couple of
148 subscribers. I just do. I've done them off and on some weird videos on different. Like I actually did a one on the Battle of Totem. Totem, I think is how they say it. It was the largest medieval battle in England, and they did facial reconstruction of the knights, and one of them, anyways. I mean, it was horrific when they studied that battle. Like everybody's idea, you want like a ninja movie or knights or whatever. It's like one slash and the guy dies, but when you looked at the wounds, they were horrific. You would see probably guys' foot got cut off, and then he's not going to stop defending himself, and then you see he got his hand slashed, part of his head stove in, and I mean, it just he's back. John is back.
Oh, is he back? Because he had messaged me. He said, I'm literally under a cell tower and 4G is down. I don't know. I think 4G is down in my area. Wow.
Here we go.
Well, maybe it's back, man. Oh, Jay Roos, hit that like button, y'all. Yes, please hit that like button.
Is
And
he
by
from
the way,
your channel?
guys,
Did he originate from Tim's?
who?
Is he a boxing guy? The Jay Roos?
No, dude, like I got him over to Tim's channel, I think. I had him and Tim do something together, man, because he's a big boxing dude. And I'm like, oh, I'll get you hooked up and you do a video with Tim. But he's a great guy.
He's
I
very
like
active. He's very active over there.
One thing I'll say though with these comments, by the way, guys, feel free to not only hit the like button, you can donate here. You can put your special thanks or ask special questions, man, because I'm trying to pay this damn surgery off.
That's right.
And please help any way you can if you're enjoying this content, because honestly, these YouTube videos will probably make like $3 on this thing otherwise, which is half a cup of coffee these days with inflation. So, all that helps, right? But yeah, please support the channel any way you can, either through a like button, subscribe, especially to Brian's channel, or if you want to help support in other ways, there is that special thanks button you can do on YouTube, or even subscribe to my membership, which is only $5 a month, and I put exclusive videos on there every Wednesday now. So, where I get a little more personal and share some interesting stuff.
Lots more interesting stuff coming. We're even looking at having some high level engineers and scientists who work in the government to come on and talk about things like UFOs.
We got a guy that is going to talk about, and he's working on anti-gravity and thinks we will achieve that in our lifetime. Like, the guy's literally working on that kind of stuff, and he won't be able to say everything because obviously he's the kind of guy that the government's always like looking at and listening to and making sure he's not sharing these secrets. But we're going to get, guests like that, legit, MIT scientists and everything else. So make sure to tune in like every Saturday. We're just going to have like these cool ass topics. It'll be kind of more like, I guess, what Joe Rogan does, where he just talks to interesting ass people And yes, sometimes we will delve into the martial arts and the movie world, but we're going to branch off on these Saturday shows as well.
Maurice is here. I know he's coming. I think he's originally, I don't know where I think he came from Lights and then was watching
really?
Tim's, and now he's here. Yeah, we're
Okay. Hey,
pilfering
man, we
right
getting
through
everybody
the-
in. We're going to be doing cool ass shows like I mentioned
right.
every Saturday, man.
Oh, he's gone. He popped out again.
Okay, we bored him. He's gone. Oh, you're talking about John. I thought you meant the Maurice dude.
Yeah. Yep, he's out.
Oh, yeah. He said as soon as I enter that room, my 4G goes out. So they're blocking him, dude. Like they don't want him spilling these ninja secrets, man.
That's
Like he
right.
knows he's involved in
this
this,
is-
right?
It's a big deal. Mike can sit once it on your show, dude. It's the world will know. I mean, this is where you come to expose everything. This is there. Where
We're exposing everything here, man. But Last Man Standing said it's government tech, nothing more. So if he's talking about UFOs, it's a combination, dude. There's no doubt in my mind we had reversed engineered certain things. Like if you think about what we've done technology wise over the last 50 years, and a lot of it I do believe has to do when we were messing around with the atom and the atomic bomb, and like the aliens could sense that. They're like, hey, what's going on over here? And they really started looking into us, to make sure we don't like blow ourselves up. So and I heard those atomic bombs actually messed up some of their instruments. So if you want to tie that into any UFO crashes, I think that's what happened. And then obviously our governments retrieved them and, started reverse engineering. So anyway, that's my theory.
I had an interesting conversation with another project I'm working on with a current right now Marine intelligence officer, and I asked him a question about Roswell. So one of the problems I have with Roswell is if anybody hears from the military, they'll understand how procedures work. And at Roswell was the 509th Bomber Group. It was the only, at that time, only atomic. There were planes with atomic bombs on them. At that time, there's nowhere else in the world. And here we go. John's back. And the problem with that is, so Marcel, who was the guy in charge of Roswell, the intel officer there, he would have known intel procedures like to the max. Like nobody at that base wasn't extremely vetted, extremely trained, and completely understanding how top secret procedures work. And why would this guy, with all of this training, the guy who's the gatekeeper for the 509th Bomber Group with atomic bombs, why would he decide, oh, I found something that looks like a UFO. Let's go. Let's not inform my chain of command. Let's go to a radio station and tell them, hey, look, we found a UFO. So that's something that's never made sense to me. And I talked to this intel officer. It was the same thing. He says, like, for the life of him, he couldn't understand why this guy did that. So that's one of those big mysteries.
Yeah, definitely. Last Man Standing said, aliens. Nah, man, we have telescopes that can look millions of miles in space, but can't find one planet with water like Earth. I disagree, dude. There are like reports and data coming out all the time on how many Earth-like planets they find. They find so many all the time. Like if you just break down the numbers statistically, like there's just so many other planets like Earth. I think the only argument that you could make would be have aliens actually visited us. I don't think anybody has like a legitimate scientific argument for there are no aliens like out there because of how vast the universe is, especially when you talk about like multi-universes. It's just like statistically the numbers, there are so many planets out there that I have no doubt are full of intelligent life. Now you could definitely make the argument, have they ever visited us? See, that's the question. But if you try to dispute like, oh no, there's nothing else, that's just, I'd like to see somebody try to make that argument, man, because the science says otherwise. If you crunch the numbers, too many Earth-like planets and everything else going on. I think John gave up again.
Yeah, he's going.
Well, we're going to cut this thing probably in 5 minutes. If he can't make it in 5 minutes, that's the deadline because we're going to keep these shows, between an hour. I mean, if it gets very interesting, we'll go up to an hour and a half, 2 hours. But yeah, if he doesn't pop in, successfully in the next 5 minutes, we're just going to cut it for this week. But, going forward, I guess we'll always have a backup plan where me and Brian will just have a topic that we could BS about, some relevant stuff in the news, and you guys bring up anything in the comments. So we're always going to have a backup plan. Ideally, this does not happen again, but you know, with technology and everything else, like it could easily happen.
Yeah, definitely. And then here's something interesting. Oh, we
Oh,
got
real quick,
$5,
Maurice gave
Maurice.
$5 real quick. Oh, thanks, man. He says, I don't hate Brian, but I pity the fool when he steps in the ring with me. Oh, okay.
To me, let's say, oh, but I pity the fool when he. Oh, he's the guy. Well, Maurice, he's the one you challenged me before. I think. Did you see the videos of me hitting the heavy bag? I don't think
You don't
saw
want to
it.
mess with Brian, man. Like, I got a black eye because of this dude. But yeah, I do blame my lack of defense and head movement. But goddamn, that guy can hit. But anyway, what? Sorry, what were you saying, Brian?
This guy. I guess that's what. Wait, what? I don't know. Ninja did more spying than actual combat, and they would pretend to be Shinto priests outside a castle, count how many soldiers walk into and out of it. Yeah, so I think that's an excellent point. Like I was saying, I think there were different levels of what a ninja was. You probably had like some of the real elite; they were highly trained in combat, but then you would have other ones who were being paid to probably showed how to gather intelligence, so that way they were doing it properly. And obviously you had to have somebody who could count, right? I mean, you had to get somebody who had an education. And, I think there was just different levels. Very similar. Again, I go back to the CIA.
Oh, yeah, for sure. By the way, Maurice is saying you're dodging him.
I am. I don't know how big Maurice is. Maurice might be 6'4", 290-pound beast, a super heavyweight.
Yeah, he might tower over Tim Witherspoon, man. You never know. You never know, man.
Dude, man, I'm 52 years old, Maurice. I don't know how old you are, but my days of getting beat up are over.
Oh, the Shadow says the universe is too vast for us to be alone. The question is, have they ever visited Earth? Also, our technology is too limited to actually detect them, which, yeah, I do agree with that for sure, man. I mean, we've detected things like on radar and other stuff, but I'm sure they have other it's just hard to try to understand their technology. Though, like it seems like the science fiction writers actually kind of predict the future in a way if you think about it, because anything starts with imagination, right? And then you can manifest that kind of stuff into reality. Like I think about something like this 100 years ago, nobody would ever like think this is possible. Even what me and Brian are doing live stream, talking to you guys commenting in real time, like nobody would ever think that would ever be possible like 100 years ago. That would be like
David,
magic, right?
remember the whole thing with the Dick Tracy watch? I don't know how old anybody, but that was like a big deal. I mean, it came out of like the 50s and stuff, but that he could talk into the watch. I remember seeing like those old shows, and I'm saying to myself, wow, man, imagine that one day you could actually talk into a watch, and that's impossible. There's no way.
Yeah, but even now that would be like so archaic, right? Because you could just do it on video.
It's
But
ridiculous.
speaking of which,
Inefficient.
yeah, speaking of which, unfortunately, we can't get John on video with all this great technology that we have these days. Yeah, because he said as soon as I enter the room, his 4G goes out. He just sent me that Facebook. Oh, hey, should I get this real quick? I got Sonny from Lionheart, Jeff Langton calling.
Yeah, man.
Let's say hi
Let's
real
hear it.
quick. Hey, Jeff, real quick, dude. I'm doing a live show on YouTube. You want to say hi to everybody?
Sure.
We'll say hi to him.
Who am I talking to?
We're talking to the Viking Samurai audience, man.
Okay, well, I want to say this, that I am so proud of David, and I want to tell you guys, over a year ago, 2 days before my surgery, David did an interview on me, and he propelled me back into this career. And I just saw the trailer of the last Kumite. I was so impressed. I see David. David, you're the one in the blue shorts, correct?
Oh, that's me, man.
I said, whoa. I said, wow, man, you did a good kick like the way Van Damme did. And after all these years, 45 years in the motion picture business, I look at David and it's like, that's what makes me happy, guys. To see another guy making it and doing good. And I want to ask you, David, what kind of camera did they use? Like the quality is very, very good.
I don't know what camera. I know Ross Clarkson shot it. This is a guy that's been shooting movies for over 20 years. Cinematographer on The Undisputed 2 and 3 with Scott Adkins and Michael Jai White. And, he shot a film with Sheldon Lettich, and he shot movies with Steven Seagal. So the guy knows how to shoot stuff. Obviously, he's going to use great equipment. He's great at lighting stuff. And the movie looks great, dude. It has good color grading, everything.
Yeah, that was the first thing, like your visual. The first thing when you watch a movie, it's the visual, like the quality of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, that's really, really good. And I watched it, and I said, I can't wait till it comes out. But congratulations, David. And man, you stood out there, man. That stood out. That jumping. I had to play it a few times, but I said, that's David doing that, and you did a wonderful job. So who do we have on your show right now?
Oh, we got my friend Brian the Beast Robinson in Philly, and we do a live every Saturday now, 12 o'clock Eastern time, 9 Pacific. We were supposed to have this guy named John on who ran a Ninja podcast, but he's having trouble with his internet connection. But he had, run into and been involved with all those guys like your good buddy back in the day, Frank Dukes. He'd also been involved with David Richardson, Stephen K. Hayes, all kinds of people. So we were going to get his deep dive into the ninja world, because he had crazy stories to share. So we're going to have to get that in the future. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that today. But it was kind of cool that you called. So I guess you're our guest this week.
I'm glad to be your guest, and I'll tell you things. And for that, his name is the Beast Robinson.
Well, that's what I call him, dude. Because I'll send you a video. If you see him hit the bag, my God, the amount of power this dude could generate.
Yeah, I've seen that guy. That guy. He's a good puncher.
Oh, hell yeah!
But ask him about. Do they still make tasty cakes back there in Philly?
You know what? I think they don't anymore. They closed down the factory. They closed them down here in Philly. They were right up on Roosevelt Ave, I think. There was a big factory there, and I think they closed them down.
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it anymore.
They still have tasty cakes, though. They just don't make them here anymore.
Hmm.
I have a very good friend. Shout out to Freddie Fearless Pendleton. Freddie had 78 pro fights. I worked this corner in about 6 to 8 fights, from what I remember. I did a lot of boxing. And Freddie, he's from the hometown of Philadelphia. Then he went down to Miami. He was training with my uncle Al Bonani. And Freddie was a warrior, man. He fought everybody. He never ducked anybody. But I don't know if you know Freddie Pendleton. He comes from Philadelphia.
That sounds familiar. I may have met him with Tim before.
I can't hear him. What do you say?
Oh, he said he might have met him with Tim before.
Yeah,
Tim
maybe I met him.
Yeah, terrible Tim Witherspoon, of course.
Yeah, Tim Witherspoon was managed by one of my very close friends, Carl King. I used to work for Don King for about 35 years.
Wow.
And he's a character. But this weekend at the Highlight, our boxer Alex Castro is fighting for the title this week in 10th rounder for a USBA title. Yes, he already has a WBC title. So I guess I don't know why they went. It's weird. Like these guys these days, 10 rounds now. They go 12 rounds. They go back to 10 rounds. I guess is what it is. But I want to say, David, congratulations on the last Kumite. I can't wait to see that. Is that going to be a theatrical release in the theaters, or?
I don't know if it's going to be limited theatrical. It would be really cool if it is. I don't know what streaming network it's going to be on. I do know there's going to be hard physical copies. So obviously a lot of the audience for this likes physical media, myself included. So definitely, got to pick up the Blu-ray, and hopefully they put some really cool extras in there. So yeah, it's very exciting, man. It's very exciting, and I was so honored to be a part of it. Like I got to meet and work with your pal back in the day, Billy Blanks. Remember, you literally took him to the Lionheart audition at Frank Dukes' gym. Crazy enough, man.
That's true.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so
That's true.
cool.
Yeah, I took him. I took Mark Delisandros. I took the Weaver triplets. I took Thunderwolf, and a couple other guys too. I can't even remember now, but yeah, they all load up in my van. I took them over to Frank Dukes' ninja school on Coldwater, and they all tried out. That was a incredible day. I never knew that movie. I'm thinking, David. I'm thinking that when people see you in this, my prediction is that people are going to go, that guy's got it. I mean, you look like Sinbad, kind of thing. I call you the Sinbad of the martial arts world. Remember Sinbad? That was my hero when I was a kid, watching those Sinbad movies. And the Beast should probably know about Sinbad.
Oh yeah.
Up there and but so what's the topic today? What are we talking about?
Funny enough, we're talking about ninjas. So, well, thanks for all those compliments, by the way, Jeff.
No, but it's not. I only speak the truth because when I saw that, I said, was that David? I said, shit, that guy. I mean, I said that kick looked more powerful than JC's kick. I said that because Jean-Claude, he's more like, yours is more like something you would hit somebody with. It's more like a ballet type of movement. But I don't know much about ninja. I went to Frank's school, but I didn't really understand about. I didn't understand about. I read about it, but I don't really. I don't know what. To me, it looks like Shotokan karate to me.
Oh, here's something cool that you could talk about, Jeff, because I know you were associated with like the boxing, because a lot of different great martial artists and fighters had brought different things into Frank's school, like Krav Maga and different things. At one point, you were specifically associated with like Duke's Root boxing element, right?
Well, the thing is, when I met Frank, so the history behind Frank, I think I did that on your. When I met Frank, I met him to the drama lab because I wanted to be a stuntman. And Frank came from Canada, and Frank was part of the Canadian Stuntmen's Association. And Frank, Frank was very good with the lenses. Frank was the one that kind of taught me about the lenses, and then he was learning from a guy named Hubie Kearns. Hubie Kearns was the original Batman, Adam West.
Sure.
Okay. So I went there and I met Frank. He says, I do this, what they call a ninjutsu. And I didn't know what that was. Even coming from Japanese karate, I didn't know what a ninja was.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then the movies came out, Michael Dudikoff. I knew Michael Dudikoff and ninjas. And so Frank, he said, hey, here's what I'll do. I told him I was very low on money and I was working 2 jobs. And he says, hey, you teach at my school. You teach, because I was a gymnast, and he says you teach gymnastics, and you teach them, karate, which and I'll show you how to be a stuntman.
Okay,
that's what Frank did. Yeah, that's what he did, and so he said this is ninjutsu, and I said to me, it looks like Shotokan karate or judo,
Sure.
And that's what that's what it was. And, I knew how to tumble. So, I did judo. I had judo. And so that's what it was. To me, that's basically, then Frank started showing me all those weird finger things that those people do, and I didn't get that thing.
Well, Jeff, it seems like the ninjutsu, it makes sense. It was just like a mix of different martial arts, especially from Japan, like the Shotokan, the judo, mixed in with, the acrobats probably came in more with the movies and stuff, but it tied in with the whole espionage aspect, as opposed to being its own original. Oh, these are specific ninjutsu moves. Like this is specifically a kick in ninjutsu or specifically a punch. It wouldn't make sense to reinvent the wheel. It would make sense to just utilize those other art forms that were already pre-existing, like Shotokan and judo that you mentioned.
Well, the thing is that Frank, he always talked about evasion. He talked about disappearing, and Frank did a lot of disappearing when I was teaching at the school. I didn't know where he's going.
Which are interesting stories that tie into his Secret Man book, man, because a lot of people, look, Frank has a reputation, both good and bad, and people just think because maybe he exaggerated about some stories, his whole life's an exaggeration. I specifically think there's a lot more truth to the man than most people realize, but that's just based on all the people that I've spoken to and some of the research that I've done.
There we go.
He was,
Hi.
the Nicaraguan soldiers were training in his gym. I was a witness to that.
Well, but Jeff, not to cut you off, we could get that whole thing a little bit later, and we want to get you on as a live guest, but our live guest for this week actually finally got his phone connection shown up, so we're gonna talk to him about this ninja stuff and salvage this week's show. Okay?
Are you online now? What can I?
We're on live, dude. Go to YouTube right now, man. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, so this is a live train wreck. This
Doing
is
pre-pod.
Oh no, dude, we're literally live every Saturdays now, and we're gonna have you on in the future. Okay?
Oh yeah, well, thank you, David. I just want to congratulate, and I want to tell your audience, if they're listening, that I was very impressed.
Oh, appreciate it, man.
No, I was very impressed with your, how would you say it? Your accolades and your endeavors that you've done, and for me to see it, I'm so excited. And I can't wait to see the movie. You rocked it, man. And that camera. I like to find out which camera they use. I really like.
I'll try to find out for you, Jeff. I'll send you some more clips also from Last Kumite and also Bloodstorm. You're going to be very interested in. So I'll show you some stuff later.
You definitely got a career there. Okay,
Oh, thanks, man.
check you guys out. Okay, God bless.
All right, later, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Oh, hey, John, your connection's finally here. Can you hear us, man?
probably not now.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we could see you. We could hear you. We're going to salvage the show, man.
Thank goodness. Dude, I'm so sorry. I hope I'm coming in kind of clear. I put in the earbuds and I said, you know what? I've tried everything. But yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate you to bringing me on and that kind of thing. How far along are you guys? Where I see
Dude,
you were
we're all
talking
over
about
the place, man. Like
Mr.
I
Dukes.
literally just picked up a phone call from Jeff Langton, who played Sonny in Lionheart, and obviously he was in a bunch of other movies. He's a boxing trainer. He's in the Taekwondo, Hall of Fame. Had him on the channel before. Great guy. So anyway, we're just like, this is what the show became, just random ass shit, man. Anyway, let's start
Nice.
with your story on how you got involved in the ninja world.
Oh man, to be honest, this is it. Oh wow. When to get involved in something like this, first off, everybody as a kid was like, "Oh, ninjas, we're all that way." And I mean, I'm 40 years old, so I'll put that date out there to kind of give you the idea. But we grew up with Ninja Turtles and that kind of thing. So when you 23 years old, 22, and I'm out in the Navy, when I'm wanting to get into a martial art, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, the MMA, the Muay Thais, these things are fun. BJJ classes, they're fun, and a lot of kids, martial artists, you'll dabble with it all, and you'll jump in and out of classes and see what you like. I always wanted something traditional, and then I'm like, ninjutsu is a traditional art. It has traditional roots. There's so much foundation in a traditional sense at the time, in my 20s, and so yeah, I really ran with that idea that I want to step back into traditional concepts and constructs of martial art and put formalities back in place. And so honestly, that was a big reason for getting involved, because it had so much structure. You know what I mean? Or it seemingly had so much structure at the time.
So that was around like the year 2000 then, right? You said when you were like 20 years old, roughly?
Dude, yeah. Yeah, I'd say so probably in like by 2003. Dude, I was all over stuff like Rick 2. And if maybe somebody, if you guys just, familiar, or if you talked about Rick 2, that was kind of another, branch in the sense that you'll run into. But I also, back in that day, I ran into Krista Jacobson's information. I ran into, obviously Richard Von Donk's information. Um, Interestingly enough, I didn't run into as much, Frank Duke's um, martial art information. Now you'd find like Duke's Rue and that kind of thing, and it was there, but I just don't feel like the marketing was way different. Internet campaigning and back in 2003 was different
Well,
for everybody. And
real
so yeah, I
quick,
remember
John.
even like
Real quick,
yeah,
John. Rick 2 came from Duke's Rue, though, because you'd mentioned Rick 2. Like
right.
he was like he's still to this day is very legit. He runs camps like in Thailand. He literally
Oh,
ninja camps in Thailand.
yeah, no, dude, no, that stuff's rad. That stuff's rad. And that's the thing about it, is that it's been like a whole you kind of find out what branched off from where. And now, dude, I mean, we're looking at like 20 years, you know, that's a lot of time spent, man. I was in the turntable community, and DJs look at 20 years as if like it's like, coming into adulthood. They're like, man, we did it. We've been scratching records for 20 years, as DJs. As martial artists, I'd say to myself, somebody from the 80s who was studying in any of its ways, because at that time, you had Stephen Hayes studying under Masaaki Hatsumi. Had, of course, all of Masaaki Hatsumi's students that now, even still, as they take on Ruha, are still involved. But at that time, I think, the Tenmura Sensei, I think is his name. Um, but at that time, there were a few other, Robert Busey, Bussy broke off, and a couple others, and a lot of times there was this ego.
Uh-oh. I hope we didn't lose him,
Oh
man.
boy.
It took us an hour to get him. Come on, connection. What's up, 4G?
Factions.
There he's back.
Okay, he's back.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
4G, yeah.
Sure.
So like I'm saying, it's nuts that you do find that there are so many branches, and I want to give legitimacy to something that is 20 years old. They do it in other communities, other places. 20 years is a long run. Now, martial arts, though, has a rich history that goes for hundreds and hundreds of years, and we live such a short lifetime in comparison that it just blows my mind that people lose their shit. That 20 years is a long time spent for a person, especially when our average lifespan is 60 years, or let's give us another 10. I just don't know what to say to people when they're like, oh, I can't say that that's legitimate because that guy spent only 20 years. I'm like, it's a long time, dude. So I give dudes like Rick 2, even in the sense of it all, like even small offshoots, Sky Benson.
Oh, he's a great guy. I've talked to him quite a bit.
I
Also
get it,
connected to Frank Dukes.
Yes, I get it, dude. And that's been the biggest thing, is where it's like I look at them, I say, dude, you spent so much time, you spent so much of your resources on this, and then you've spent so much time sharing the information, and that's so important. So many other martial arts really take that as a blessing when they have a person willing to share, and to do so at a capacity that is high quality, and a person who actually gives a shit about their craft. That's what I see when I see people who are rewarded by Duke's Rue and Duke's Rue affiliates and Von Donk, Quest centers. They're not patting on the back and rewarding cool ninja backflips. They are rewarding time spent and people who are making the art dignified art, and continuing in a way in which they represent something. And I think a lot of those people who've kind of taken the helm now from under Von Donk, Stephen Hayes, even Dukes' guys those who would still go to Sky Benson's garage and stuff like that, you
Can I ask a
know.
quick
So it's
question?
like,
Do you mind if I ask a question? When
yeah,
you say like credible, like somebody who's, what does that look like? Somebody like me, I'm not like an expert on ninja or nothing. What makes somebody credible in the ninja world?
gosh, man, unfortunately, credibility falls into the eye of the beholder. It's kind of like beauty. So in that, I've heard so many different ranges of what, credible really is. So what have you put back out into the art? Has this guy not just studied and received ranks or accolades or recognitions? Have they put back out into the art? Have they written works? Have they attempted, translations is a huge thing. And I'll even throw the shout out to people who are like my detractors in the sense, a lot of them do really cool stuff and they add to the community. That makes them credible, um the thing is though, is that when we talk about martial arts credibilities and stuff nowadays, man, I honestly, that's in the air because there's like XMA in the sense where there's like kids out there who can just do incredible acrobatics and things of that nature, stuff that I can't do, and I'd have to say, yeah, they are credible. Is that 12-year-old with a black belt credible? I don't want to face him with his little lightweight toothpick bow staff. I know that, because I've seen those little 12-year-olds rip it up. Does that credibility go away from them, at the age of 16, 17, when they say, hey, I want to pursue this and I want to turn this into an occupation or a lifestyle. And then in walks random ass who says, hey, let me talk to your sensei. Who's your sensei? What's your line? What's your lineage? That guy would have to say, hey man, I'm running a business here. And when I was 12 years old, I was sick with a bow staff. And now, little Jimmy over here is 12 years old and he's sick with a bow staff because I've been able to tutor and mentor him. That's what's important. And there's that. There's the handing on that baton. I'd say that's credibility, What have they done for the art? I'd have to say that's what makes, in my honest opinion, credibility.
Okay. I got two questions. The first question, would you label yourself, like, do you identify as a ninja?
No. No, and I appreciate the opportunity to answer this question because no, but yes, I mean, there's no doubt you put stuff out there and it says ninja. Do I have an email that has a ninja attached to it? Yeah. Did I take on ninjutsu and then from that point say, if somebody's saying, well, what is that? It's like, oh, it's the art of the ninja. If ever asked, are you a ninja? That's no. You know what I mean? That's a big no. Because
Okay.
it's, you know what I mean? It's just like at that point you have to kind of really take a step back and say, okay, where's the fantasy?
Okay. Hopefully this internet
He's
connection
leaving
gets
the
back.
drama. He's
We'll get-
leaving the drama. He's holding on.
That's a commercial, right? That's it. Okay. Sorry, you cut off right there,
I
John.
gotta go out here and I gotta Simba my phone to get you guys back, if you can believe such a thing.
Crazy, man.
And let me ask you a real
That's
quick
terrible.
question. When you say you don't really feel like a ninja, do you think it's because it's kind of like to actually be a ninja, you have to be doing ninja things in a real environment where you're being, you could be killed. You're actually doing secret missions and stuff like they did in the old days. Obviously, some of it wouldn't be as practical today because of technologies and stuff like that. But Is that what really makes you say, like, I'm not a ninja? Because I'm not actually doing that stuff. I don't have any experience actually, doing those things ninjas did 300 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate this hood. I can't wear this hood. Yeah. Yeah, look, yeah. If you're involved in guard, yeah, okay. So let's take a look at what a ninja would have been, in the reality, guards, informants, important persons, samurais with secret talents and subterfuge that's unspoken. If you're involved in that sort of thing, then absolutely, you're a real life today ninja, and the training that would have come along, or that I guess I want to say would help what you do in the field, would be practical. So I think the biggest thing that's okay, let's say a basic Geinin low level ninja, okay, if we're gonna even look at rank structure, low level guards, policing, keeping peace, ensuring that plots of land and that sort of thing are safe and secure. Then sure, a modern day law officer is basically doing some ninjutsu jobs out there, or subterfuge, in the sense, if they're collecting information, if they're talking to people, if they're kind of assimilating as well, maybe a local culture or knowing just local lingo, hotspots, that kind of thing. That's the sort of stuff that, yeah, in law enforcement you'd be directly involved in, and I'd have to say that's that's a big one. But then again, it can also be facilitating land deals and that kind of thing too. So would you say then the title offices have some ninjas in there? Maybe, or like it depends, because there's so much involved in what could be ninjutsu-esque or subterfuge involved. So yeah, I'd say if you are currently involved in that sort of thing, definitely if you're like special ops, if you're military, you're top end, then yeah, dude, you are an effing ninja. Like if you're a Green Beret, you're a ninja too. You know what I mean? Like if any of that stuff, you're a ninja.
Nice. Here's a
Straight
question,
up.
man. And I know you told me a little bit about your formal ninjutsu training. Can you talk about that? Because I believe you were in the Bujinkan for a few years, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna walk. Let's see what happens with my signal. Just let me know. I want to try and get in the studio where it's training.
Okay.
Training studio is a small shed. And I got a light. Training, yeah, and that.
Oh, you're cutting out, man. We need that UFO technology, Brian, so this guy doesn't cut in and out.
Got to get in touch with Sam.
Sam Singh. We got this lame ass human technology, man. Can even keep a signal in 4G.
Oh my God, there it goes again. The ninjas are at their tricks. I think that's interesting what he's talking about, because you only have one aspect of what ninja was, but probably in context, it was a lot of things. It was, maybe way broader than we think. We kind of have this romanticized view of what they did, but it's like he's saying it was probably people well educated in certain aspects of order keeping, whether it was administration, whether it was, just being a guard, all of these things. So, there's just an aspect we know about the ninja, and that's what we're hyper focused on, but it could have been much more diverse.
Oh, yeah, very broad. I mean, he made it sound like you could be if you're a real estate agent, you could be a ninja, for example, Oh, okay, he's back. All right.
Yeah, I think it's the Faraday cage situation I was dealing with here.
Okay, but let's talk about the formal training that you'd done in ninjutsu.
Okay, so yeah, look, I think my thing is, and I should be I should just be straight up with it. I don't have formal ninjutsu training, and I just don't even think that such a thing really exists outside of anything from what you could get from Musashi Clan. And real quick, if anybody's listening, you have to go to Musashi Clan and understand what Vanessa Shibata speaks of.
You're gonna like this comment.
This is
Hey,
very
David, you gotta
frustrating.
like this
Right
comment
when we're
here.
getting like he's about to make some really good, commentary, and then we get this like dial-up internet connection thing.
I literally have John here twice. Here we
Oh,
go.
you got him
John,
on. Okay.
you're showing your ninja skills. You're duplicating yourself here. This is crazy.
This is how it's got to work. And there will be the people out there that are like, as soon as you asked about his training, he disappeared.
Boom,
I knew it.
like
He's a fraud. He was a fraud the whole time.
Well, you proved
I
something
am
by
a fraud.
duplicating yourself. I've never seen that on here before. People, there might be some real powers here. I'm just saying. I don't know. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, right. I have to deal with some hokey stuff out here with podcasting, especially because trying to do this has just been next to impossible in the woods. So yes, it's one of my tricks. It's coming in from different IP addresses very quickly. Yeah, because I actually had on the horn one time during an interview. To me it was a big deal because I had Frank on the line, and it kept dropping out, cutting in, and keeping it going. And the same thing also happened to me when I had a real big lead and a great interview with an author who came on, and her name escapes me right now. But to me it was a huge show, but her name escapes me.
Okay.
That was like 2 years ago. But yeah. Formal training though, man. Look, if guys are out there and they're in the Bujinkan, then yeah, they're legitimate. They're training, and what they're doing, it's worthwhile. It's fun. It has energy to it, and they're not showboating. Most of them, a lot of them are capable. And a lot of those guys will even say that, I wouldn't do this in a cage. I wouldn't do this in an MMA environment. Some of this would work in the street. Some of this wouldn't. And they're honest about those. Every group has its detractors, though, and so, yeah, there's going to be the Bujinkan guys, that make the name rough. I trained under great people. My direct instructor, Alan Ennin, he wasn't terribly involved. He just really wasn't into it.
Going to make a profound point, and they shut him off again.
Yeah, man. Richard G's comment. Well, by today's standards, if you identify as a ninja, you technically are one. That is true, man. We can all be ninjas. We can demand other people call us that, or we cancel them, right? Anyway,
right.
John's back.
That's right.
I think I caught the end of that there. Did you say you cancel him?
Well, I was making a joke with Richard's comment about if today's standards, if you identify as a ninja, you technically are one, So
yeah. And I mean that, yeah. I don't want to take anybody's "I'm a ninja" card away from them, and I wouldn't never say you're not a ninja, dude, because people spend so much time and energy on these things and these endeavors. They really care, and they're not putting bad energy out there. Again, there is bad energy out there, and there are detractors and that kind of thing, but they kind of stay in their little corners, they kind of stay in their little spots. The problem is that if someone today wants to come to ninjutsu and say, can I find a legitimate practitioner who can prove to me all this works in the street, and I want to study under him and become a black belt. That's such a, I don't know, dude. It's just not 1992 anymore. We just don't do that kind of thing anymore. And the youth that I speak with, and I say youth because I'm talking about, kids at bowling alleys, or, and I say kids is in like even like 20-year-olds, man. It's crazy to me because, we're older now, a lot of us. And it's just, it's such a bummer that even at like the age of 40,
Oh, that damn internet connection, man. I think a lot of people, especially growing up during that time, love the mystery, the mysticism, of the ninja. It's that magical part of the martial arts world, with smoke bombs and flipping over, fences. Okay, he's back.
Disappearing in a room
No,
that's
I
completely dark.
yeah, that's the stuff. That's the stuff. That's the real stuff. If from some training, if from your time, spent with somebody who said, "Oh, you want to learn ninjutsu, learn it from me," and it wasn't all the high punching and kicking, and they did discuss these things with you, and they did talk about how to enter a room and look about and be observant. If you did spend your time doing those things, then yeah, you spent your time studying and practicing some legitimate subterfuge, some legitimate
Can I
ninjutsu.
ask you a question about
I'll
that?
throw, yeah.
Are you more about the is there a mystical side to ninjutsu, or would you say it's just like special forces training? You just get very highly trained in certain evasive moves and ways of camouflage and all of these different things, psychology, and that's what a ninja is. There is no mysticism.
Yeah, I I think that there is mysticism, okay, involved, absolutely, because first off, the disbandment, if you will, or just the way in which during kind of the is the change of the era, So when you're going from um, a way in which people kind of changed ruling class and what they wanted to look like, how they wanted to sound, they're becoming westernized, everything becoming westernized. and the various rulers wanted to put aside and away these kind of like almost in a sense barbaric practices or dishonorable ways and that kind of thing, because a lot of ninjutsu is also what would be considered kind of an I don't know, an adjust path of samurai. Like you'd have a samurai who studies and practices subterfuge, not to say that they are, they practice ninja. They're a samurai who is skilled in subterfuge. Their leftover stories and that folklore has to be something that's going to impact the future. So the Tengu are a great example of this, because in the earlier times of ninja, to sound like a Ashita Kim or something here, in the earlier times of ninja, the Tengu were these elusive bird people, and the bird people would break into your home or steal stuff, or they acted like ninjas. Sometimes they were thieves, they were just demons. Other times they were kind of sent out for you. Some warlord who also is mystical had some Tengu he was buddies with, and then so the Tengu flew in, did some dirty business or whatever, and took off. So you got now a scapegoat and a blame to put. And we're also talking about the intelligence of individuals are very different at in the medieval and Japanese warring periods, the warring states period especially. And I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm the best at history in this, because the change of the guard happens so many different times that almost changes the storylines, and then it changes the way in which the mysticism is going to be presented to you, because at some points people want to take credit for something, and so then it wasn't a ninja. It was a samurai that did whatever this was, and it would come to be, and then somebody would say, yeah, that happened, and I did it, and then another family would come along and say, that's amazing, we want you to be part of our family. We're going to give you a title. And, now he's not just a samurai, but now he's also like a, secret society member within a family. And whenever they would talk about that or stamp that on their paperwork and their dealings, the nin kanji would be used in many cases, or that kanji, and it's the way in which it's kind of constructed, because it's a two-part kanji of the sword over the heart, and it has a literal meaning, and then it also has this fantastical meaning. And so the way in which that would be documented historically will kind of change those aspects too, of whether or not it was played into absolute mysticism or it was just somebody who stole a shawl that was very important to someone else.
Okay. Well, here's a good question.
I hope that makes sense.
Here's a really good question from Alexander Lako. One, he said, do modern day self-proclaimed ninjas actually practice a preserved codified syllabus of techniques that descends from the 1600s or earlier? And can they actually fight or do anything?
Okay. Yeah, oh man, what a trap. You set a trap. That's a trap.
That's
a trap, dude.
Like Star Wars,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh, or I guess I should say I got a bad feeling about this. I believe truly that if you were to talk to Vanessa Shibata of Musashi Clan, they are very much so able to prove their lineage and line. And they're also, I'm sorry, I got to plug in now, so all hell's going to break loose.
Sure.
They're also very intertwined with the Japanese government, if you can believe that. They actually operate within a building that's attached to records and archives and that kind of thing. And they're actually recognized by the Japanese government. And I'm saying that loosely because when I speak to Vanessa, and I've spoken to her directly, and I have records of all my podcasts. A lot of people say, oh, he took down all his podcasts, yada, yada. They are out there. I'm not hosting them on Spotify. They are out there on podcast notes. And I have a great interview with Vanessa Shibata. And yeah, I mean, dude, if you study under them, then you're going to understand actual traditional ninjutsu in its fluid concepts. I'm at that door to be able to enter Musashi Clan and speak with them and have that sort of relationship, but they have a process, and it's more of a you got to do your homework than it is here's the punch and the kick, and show us your ground rolls and that. So it's way more of a it's way more of a direct process with them, because it's very much more so subterfuge.
So, you mind if I say? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh
David.
no, go ahead, Brian.
Just real quick, and I think people have to take this in the. Is very important. Is back in those days before guns, even hitting with the fists was not the preferred way. It was swords. So the idea that a samurai or in a ninja are going to train extensively either with jujitsu in case they got a hold of each other while sword fighting. But I think the idea that ninjas would be like super good in a ring, there wasn't a lot of punching going on because they were defending against swords and knives, which is incredibly lethal. You've seen UFC fighters get killed by people who weren't that trained with a knife. So I didn't interrupt, but I think people have to understand that context of why it's probably not as practical to hand. I mean, maybe jujitsu that we've seen with the Gracies was an evolution of Japanese martial arts, but really people have to understand they had swords and knives.
Yes, and a lot of what takes place on any sort of actual like modern day ninjutsu training room is that they are actually taking those fundamentals of grappling and moving around with armor, weaponry of that sort, and being able to defend against it. So what you're going to see is a lot of movement, like Yaku Ru, for example. I'm going to mispronounce, and I'm just not perfect at these things. So, there's going to be these ideas that derive from the battlefield, and we both dropped our swords or whatever, we engaged in combat. And these are the techniques that are similar to jujitsu, look very similar to jujitsu. In fact, I mean, I got to throw that shout out there that it's like almost like jujitsu is derivative of ninja, and that ninjutsu kind of, they kind of had that thing because they prepared in the battlefield for such a very similar thing to what you're saying, and the addition of the samurai armor, being able to know those tactical advantages, armor piercing points of interest that are going to be less guarded, shoulders, what have you, like in the crotches of the shoulders and all that stuff.
Knights talk about
So,
that extensively.
yeah.
You find the glitch in the armor. I mean, it had special knives, Knights European knives, just to get through the rivets, or not the weak points.
Mm.
Yeah, the cool thing is that at the time, well, we're looking at like war and battlefield structure and what took place in chaos, and we're saying that's cool, and it is cool because it's cool to look up that history. At the time, however, it was so grueling and a devastating thing. So yeah, you're looking at somebody who my dog's like jumping out here, and I gotta hang tight. I'm so sorry. Juno. Sorry.
His dog's name is Judo.
Good dog name.
Oh, sorry. No, her Juno. Yeah. I'm like sitting here, and then my dog runs out because she's like, I'm in the car, so she's like, oh, we're playing with cars now, and I'm like, no. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that concept though, that they would take and create battle armor, if you will, and even like the shuriken itself is a small, like 4-pointed or sword, if you will. I mean, it's a small 4-pointed knife, to say it's a bladed weapon too, as well as it being throwable. But the idea that these little pocket weapons would be carried and hidden is even a form of like ninjutsu, because there's intonjutsu where you're hiding and concealing things. And then there's the a way in which you would also camouflage your.
Oh no!
Oh man,
we're getting in the.
We had him for a while. Hopefully this comes back, because he's kind of stuck in that car because he's charging the phone.
There we go. Well, I think we're gonna have him double again. Here we go.
Okay.
He's playing tricks again.
Oh, there. Okay.
There you go. There you go. He got rid of it. Magic.
So yeah, it's a terrible kind of gruesome history, but from it we are looking at so many successful ways in which somebody persevered, which is very key. And I want to say perseverance is number one. If you are involved in ninjutsu and you don't know that ninja, like ninja kanji, the sword of the heart, literally translates to perseverance, then that's number one fundamental. From perseverance, that's where you're getting all of the rest of ninjutsu, because what did we have to do to persevere? In Tunjitsu, we had to conceal things. We had to do this, camouflage, and I'm not going to, go off with everything's different name, but, there's all the great stuff too with the weapons, the Yari Jitsu, the Kenjutsu, Shuriken Jitsu. You just add Jitsu to whatever, and there you go. It does give you a full encompassing repertoire that says, if I take a little bit of each of this, I'm gonna have a full battle set. I'm gonna have a just a complete repertoire. Am I going to be able to use that repertoire? Highly unlikely. You know, I have worn body armor in the line of law enforcement. I would consider that similar in a style where it's like, okay, I prepared this. You know, I prepared in understanding how to draw my weapon and do these things. I prepared in understanding how to interact with the person that I'm going to be interacting with during whatever whatever takes place, whatever traffic stop I incite, whatever you know, interaction takes place. You have to understand how to follow, in a sense, a code, and then there would be kind of that application put forth by the same mentality that comes from ninjas. So what I'm trying to say is that the same mentality put into perseverance in Japanese history in medieval time in the warring states period, that very fundamental mindset and the way that the mind has to tick can be programmed to be to be able to do the same thing, the same job, the same fundamentals, but to today's modern day standard, to today's technology and today's
So
fluid understanding of the way things go.
I think so. What you're saying is, and I like this. It's what you're saying is when people look at ninjutsu as a style, it's not. It's a concept and a philosophy which is applicable
Oh man,
to anything you're doing in life. It's more like Taoism. Like Taoism is just a way of looking at the world, a way of approaching problems.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you know, and I'm going to say this. I've had a lot of people say to me, "It's like a religion." That's where I have to take that one step back and be like, "It's not a religion," but I think you nailed it right there. I think when you say that it's like a construct that you can overlay, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, overlay kind of onto other things. So, can you be a ninja janitor? Yes. Can you be a ninja lawyer? Yes. You know, could I apply ninjutsu to being you know, a percussionist kilt wearer? You know, yes. It's all in which the ways these trainings, these various I'm gonna go ahead and step into that mode where we call it disciplines. They are disciplines because you can't just like dabble with them. You have to become semi-disciplined in them, and then furthermore, you know, take that discipline to the next step and apply it. That way you can say, okay, not just disciplined, but field tested.
And I think what you're saying is,
yeah.
if you don't, I think so people understand, and this is where Western minds have a difficult time, is you're talking from an Eastern mind. It could be, it's painting. When you paint and Japanese culture, it is an entire philosophy in it. It is a concept in it. It's a way of life. And what you're trying to tell Americans is that, you know, people look at it and they say, oh, it sounds like a cult. It sounds like, no, you're looking at a way of approaching different disciplines, but there is a philosophy in it. There's a way of life and a way of discovering oneself.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, that's the thing about ninjutsu, is that a lot of times they try to bottle it. They try to put it into a title. They try to give it a name and a thing. And this is the problem that you know, Frank Dukes has had. This is the problem Ishida Kim has had. This isn't, however, the problem that Masaaki has had, because Masaaki has had direct answers to these things, because of being Japanese, having the connections to 100 years of information. They can say, well, I can give you an answer that bottles ninjutsu into a syllabus, and you get a little symbol to wear, and you get to be a part of something, and now you are housed in that ninja. And that's no diss to Bujinkan. I love the Bujinkan guys. I've got tons of great Bujinkan friends, and their art is really cool. And I call it an art because it is very graceful and is very art-esque. And Masaaki himself does a lot of art You know, he paints and he does kanji and he adds to all of it. But do they bottle it into a syllabus and a construct, into a application? Yes. And then it's ultimately becomes a product, which is fine. It's okay. You can sell. But this refers to, and in this way, I'm tying into what you're saying, because you are absolutely right. The westernized mindset of what we're doing in the sense of martial arts, in the sense of buying time and training and earning a black belt, and the difference between paying for a black belt and earning a black belt, and yada yada yada. All of this is a Western. It's a Western thing, and I mean, you could say the French did it, because I think it was actually a Frenchman who first developed like the karate, color belt rank structure, because essentially it was just white and black, from that point, prior, and the brown belt became an idea because dirty white belt and this and that. So the whole rank structure thing has been borrowed from so many different folks that now today we just think of it that way. We just think of, if you think of martial art, even if you're just a common person, you're going to be like, oh, I wonder what rank they are in what art they do.
Mhm.
You can't just be a martial artist. But it's coming through. It's coming through. We're making a break, because there's so many people who are just studying everything and just being martial artists, and I think those are the folks that are really, they don't know it, but they're ninjas. They don't know that they're stuck, because they're getting disciplined in more than one way. They're adding all these elements to it, and that in that way, the Western mindset does differ from because they do karate in grade school, in Japan, and they're not interested in subterfuge right now in Japan. A lot of people like to think that right now in Japan, there's ninjas breaking into temples and climbing and living in the mountains, and dude, it's just not happening. There's kids listening to punk rock, smoking cigarettes, doing their hair like greasers, chilling out in the streets, annoying the older folks, and then there's older folks saying, oh, the kids, and trying to keep their ways. And the cool thing about the older folks is, dude, they're into cool vintage stuff. Like Masaki Hatsumi is down with Marilyn Monroe and collects like her memorabilia and stuff. What is a real ninja doing with his real time? That's what I want to ask a lot of the people who get too far involved into that ninja argument or that ninja concern, and fall away from, yeah, Masaaki did some great stuff, and now he collects Monroe stuff, and he's awesome. He's doing great, cool stuff. But look, what are they really doing? What is Stephen Hayes really doing? What are they really doing right now? And they are applying ninjutsu. And what are they really? It's like they're not out there breaking into temples and stuff. They're just the older generation of of a really cool culture that we can all kind of vibe with. Because yeah, go ahead.
John, real quick. Let's kind of go over, because you did get involved with a lot of these different, I guess you would say they're the more popular figures in the ninja world. Can you comment and or share your experiences with a handful of these? So let's start with, I think you were even trying to set up a seminar with Anthony Cummins back in the day. Can you share your experience or thoughts about him?
Yeah, absolutely. I dude, Anthony Cummins, I think he's a great guy. I adore his work, man. I got to be honest with you there, because when he pumps out work, he's really into it, and the energy that comes from his work, you can use, So when I started talking to him, he had literally just released Shinobi Soldiers, which was his first book, and I kind of started following him along as he released, his very first book into the ninja world. He had done other work, but the Shinobi Soldiers was ultimately that kind of gateway for me, where the way that he broke ninjutsu's history down and took away some of the some of that kind of smoke screen that had been placed, where there's like a martial art and this is the way of ninja, this is the ninja martial art. he kind of blew that smoke away and was like, hey man, look, there's not a ninja martial art that has a punch and a kick, and you can't verify that these things are direct descendant of movements of the ninja, and you're passing it off as such, and yada yada. So that started that argument and that thing, and I was really there for all of that. I was paying attention because there was also Chosen Ninja at that time who was discussing a lot of Korean roots in ninjutsu as well, and subterfuge, and catching so much heat online that he actually just kind of backed out. There was rumors that he died, and he's not dead. He's actually a really cool guy. I got to be honest with you, dude. Right now, while I'm trying to do this is how ninjutsu works. I'm trying to do this, but like my dog's digging holes in the yard. The internet cuts out. Everything, is happening. So I'm really persevering. I got to be honest with you right now.
Sure.
And I'm watching my dog almost as if it's like I'm just going to find more places to dig because I know he can't yell at me right now. It's kind of funny. So yeah. But Anthony is extremely talented, and his ability to get that work out there for folks who could use the leg up and what ninjutsu truths are. I think he's been super beneficial there, and that's why I wanted to be involved as he was releasing I'm trying to think of the name of it, but it was like the history of the ninja. It's actually, I think it's the cover book that you put on the title page.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that book is filled with awesome information, and there's so much there that when he was releasing it, he sent me a whole bunch of stuff because I started fanboying, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I started talking to him, be like, I love your work, man. It's so great. And he was like, oh, right, yes, thank you so much. I'm Anthony Cummins, and I appreciate your help. Whatever we can do, itchy gun, itchy me. And I was like, yeah. And he developed this whole itchy gun, itchy me thing. And it was really cool because he did, I don't know, he got everybody's attention, dude. He shook this whole effort up major. And when he did that, it changed everything. And so, yeah, I was super pumped to be there and involved and help out. And with what he did with Itchy Gun, Itchy Me, which was like one district, one band, was to say that it really doesn't matter what faction or what group or whatever it is you're doing, because ninjutsu lies within this concept of ideas. And if you're facilitating this and training in this and developing it, then you're studying ninja, and you can do so under this banner of Itchy Gun, Itchy Me. And so I took that, I plastered it all over everything we did, because to me, a study group was the key. And I was like, if we get people together to study. So when I left the Bujinkan, it was like, that was my idea. I was like, you can't like earn a black belt in this. You can't do these things, which, and so like, and I'm going to give everybody out there the haha, because I went and I purchased I purchased my black belt from what's called Independent Martial Arts Federation, and did that. I straight up, I called them and I was like, "Hey, look, this is what I want to do. You guys have this whole thing set up. I want to teach." They're like, "Yeah, well, if you're teaching, then that's a black belt. We'll send you, this." And then, yeah, and so he was like, "What are you teaching?" And I talked about it and stuff. Like, yeah, that sounds great. Join the Independent Martial Arts Federation. And I was like, cool. So, paid dues. He sent some paperwork. Bing, bang, boom. I started a study group. I've been getting made fun of on the internet ever since.
Okay. Wait, so did you ever end up putting on that seminar for Anthony Cummins?
We did a seminar that one person who showed up who was like, "Is this the Anthony Cummins seminar thing?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "All right." And we trained with him and just did what we do already, but added into it all the information from the book. And this one kid got a lot of great information. And Anthony, he pumped it online for a couple months. I did the same thing. And it just, because it was
so nobody showed up aside
Anthony
from
couldn't come to America. Oh,
Only
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Dude showed up to the seminar?
One dude, because once it was known that Anthony wouldn't be there, and nobody wanted to go. Like they were like, "Wait, Anthony's not going to be there," and I was like, "No, I'm basically going to be providing you guys with all of Anthony's information. I've been talking with him online for a month or whatever, back and forth via video chats and text." And this is the idea, this is the seminar, and the book that he sent me for this even says, like, inside of it, he like stamped it with his thumb and some red ink, and it says "for the seminar," and I'm
Oh,
like, yeah, I'm super pumped. One dude shows up, and I'm like,
oh,
see, this is what I'm talking about, where it's like you people put it out there, like they're gonna travel across the country, if Anthony's there.
mhm. Brian, that'd be like me and you throwing a Tim Witherspoon seminar, teaching the Philly show without Tim. We got one guy
Brian
show
comes
up, right?
Brian comes out.
All right. When John gets back, let's ask him his thoughts and experience with
There he is,
Ashita
he's
Kim.
back.
Oh, hey,
Oh,
John,
boy.
let's go on to the next ninja character. Thoughts and or experience with Ashita Kim.
Ashita Kim, man, I think Ashita Kim is cool, and his books have been helpful for a lot of people. But today's Ashita Kim, it's kind of rough, because Ashita Kim's been kind of beat around the internet a long time, and so he's kind of brittle now. And if he senses that kind of on his side or part of kin, then he doesn't dig it. And I've spoken with him on several occasions to get him on Ninjutsu podcast. He was all about it. Every time we spoke about it, he even would say to me, like, "I told you I would come on your show." And I was like, "Yeah, well, let's do that." And he'd be like, "Well, when the time is right." And then that time never really came. So I think he likes to kind of play the shadows and hang out and have his website, because he does. His website is the same that it was way back in the day. He has stuck to one thing, and it's worked for him. But do I believe he can levitate? No. Do I believe that the hula hoop trick was just a hula hoop trick?
That was
Yeah.
my question. I was going to ask you. Do you think he can levitate?
I think he knows some of those cool tricks that, like, in grade school you'd like raise yourself up on like one leg on one foot and be like, "Ah," and your friends would be like, "Hey," he
That guy who did the
understands
hoop, he did a
perception.
really bad job. The guy who did the hoop.
Yeah,
around
his helper.
was
Yeah, the helper did him no justice in that video, and I think as well as his editor who put the sound effects together did not help. The gun sound effects were not realistic enough. It sounded like they literally recorded those sounds from a James Bond film. Like, I do a lot of sound engineering and I listen to stuff. I've talked to people and
Dude, what was
be
that?
like,
It didn't even sound like a gun. It was like or something strange.
it's
I
like,
don't know what
Yeah, it was
Hey,
interesting. I gotta say, I'm kind of honored in a way that he called me bogus in some internet forum. I'm like, dude, you're like claiming you can levitate and dodge bullets, and you calling me bogus? That's an honor. So anyway, I wanted to get him on my show, but I was never able to, unfortunately. Let's move on to the next guy. Thoughts and or experience on Frank W. Dukes.
oh gosh, I have a lot of experience on the phone with Frank Dukes, and I've spoken on the phone with Frank. I pitched an idea to Frank that essentially like a promotion, like a fight promotion, where we would get legitimate ninjutsu practitioners who wanted to claim legitimacy, et cetera, and fight in a cage style environment. Call it the Frank Dukes Kumite. Pitched the whole idea to him. He loved it,
Nice.
but he takes things so far. And I'm like, "Hey man, I've got basically."
Oh, damn. Frank Duke's at work here. He's like, nope.
Frank Dukes cut the feed. Dude, your volume's a little bit lower now. I don't know if you changed your microphone or what. You're a lot more muted, Brian.
Am I?
A little bit. I mean, I hear you okay now, but you were a little bit. Okay, he's back. All right, let's get on to Frank. So
Do it, Frank. So Frankie, yes. like I'm saying again, I do enjoy speaking with him and that kind of thing, or I did at that time. You know, I don't speak with him anymore. I did though at the time because again, we had ideas, and I had what I thought would be something that would be kind of beneficial for him. You know what I mean? And ultimately, it was kind of like it was like, hey Frank, if you know, if you want to do something different, you know, here's an idea. You know, get into a soundstage with us. You know, sit down, talk about what's happening during these fights. You know, let's get some amateur fighters to just go ahead and do their thing. And you know, and again, the connections with sound and stage was really where I came
Right.
in, and as well with just production and that sort of thing. So it's like I just wanted him to sit down and talk about the fights, man. I felt like it would almost be like UFC with ringside Frank, you know, but not UFC whatsoever. And it at that point went crazy because it's just his ideas are unachievable. You know, he wanted to measure different things by like guys wearing like throat devices that would measure a throat punch, and there would be kill strikes in this fight promotion. You know, we'd have these various kill strikes that would end the fight because that'd be a kill strike. So you know, they'd have to wear goggles, and if we could sense that they got poked in the eyes, that'd be like a take their sight. So you know, now they can't see. Maybe we'll put like goggles over their face now to simulate taking their sight. And in my mind, I'm just like, okay, dude, you're strapping fighters up with all this tech that we don't have, that is unaccessible right now. Things that they play with on like Discovery Channel. You know, we're talking about amateur fights in a hotel lobby in a sounds booth, man. Like it can't be that extravagant. And that's just where it blew up, dude. You know, at that point, I even flew out to Vegas because I wanted to talk about this with him in person, and not, you know, do this over the phone. So all of it over the phone, because the names and the people that were interested and that I was tapping to get further involved are people who are like up and comers in UFC, or the siblings of proven UFC individuals, you know, who are looking for their amateur opportunities. There were just so many other individuals who, you know, saw a light in this, but I just couldn't get Frank to play a realistic ball. And I think for many, that's the thing, dude. And I'm really putting my neck out here by saying this, because I mean, there's so many people that have worked with Frank, and then they back up and they're like, I wasn't able to do it. You know, we weren't able to come to realistic terms on both ends. You know, and I'm not going to say it's always Frank. I'm sure Frank got approached by people saying wild, crazy shit, you know, wanting to do different projects and stuff with him, and use his name or whatever. And people of that status will get that, you know, because if their name has something attached to it, then people just want the name, you know, and they're just going after it. I did the same thing. I was like, Frank, and we could put your name on it, you know. And Frank's like, yeah, we could call it Frank Dukes Kumite, or Frank Dukes Bloodsport. And he had all, you know, we had all these different names. We were going to roll with Frank Dukes Bloodsport, and it was legit going to be a WWF style ring, where you're basically just going to have two amateur brawlers go for it. And we were going to have the analysts sit back, and then Frank was going to be our main ring man, to basically, you know, call the fights as they're occurring. And then I was just going to basically showboat the thing and kind of, you know, start and end the show. From that point, though, it turned into, well, this opens the door to Duke's Rue, and, you know, talk with David Richardson, train with Richardson. So like when I fly out to Vegas, I you know, all I got was a hotel room with Richardson in it, and that guy snores really badly, and I was not able to sleep for an entire night. And the next morning, I was like, bro, I'm calling this off. Like, I don't, if Frank's not going to come interview and do the podcast like we were initially, even just, I was just there to do a podcast in person.
Sure.
You know, I'm like, if we can't do it, then I'm out, you know. And then they like called my hotel like all week, and we're like, well, we could do it over the phone, we could do this and that. And I'm just like, dude, I flew too far and I've just gotten too involved. No, you know. And I kind of backed out. Stuff went down later with Frank that kind of got back and forth, and I'm sure we'll bring that up, or it's talk about it at some other point. But yeah, Frank, dude, look, let me end with it. Let me put this Frank period on the statement. Frank is a good dude. His heart is good. Okay, I'm not gonna say that he's a heart of gold and he's never made a mistake. And that guy, dude, he's done something that nobody has been able to do, and that's maintain relevance throughout all of this, good or bad, indifferent. He is Frank Dukes. And you can't take that away from him, and that's the problem, is that people are like, well, I want to take the Frank Dukes name and I want to make it meaningless. I want to do as much as I can to tarnish it, make it terrible, sully it and scrub it and make it look like it's a big turd. And that's an injustice to a guy who honestly just, yeah, he played some ninja tricks and he kind of did what he did with with the 80s and 90s, where he was the ninja, and he went on TV and people are like, so you're a real ninja? And he's like, yeah, I'm a real ninja. And not only that, but he was like the modern man of mystery. He went on a daytime talk show with like a girl and had a martini and played up the aura of the mysterious man.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
man. So you never met up
you can't
with them,
take that
though.
away from him. And then, yeah, no, I think they're major points. I wasn't on a daytime TV talk show with a chick and a martini and the people playing the game. However, one of the first questions was, if you're a spy, then why are you on TV? And It was like, yeah. But nah, Frank Dukes he's cool.
Hey, here's one, man. And this is a guy that we've both interacted with, and he has an interesting history with Frank Dukes, initially being all about Frank and then kind of not being about Frank and then trying to get back into Frank's good graces. But it's still, to this day, he will say Frank improved his martial arts quite a bit. Any thoughts or experiences with Adam McKinley?
Yeah, no. And Adam he appeared on my podcast, a handful of times, man.
Sure.
And the thing is Adam McKinley's involvement, he's a lot like me, where he just saw a guy for what he is, and I've even had good friends where it's like, we're really good friends and then we're not good friends. We talk and then we don't talk. And I think for what it is with their relationship, it's like, yeah, it's kind of been for better, for worse. It hasn't been, from what I understand, the training that they did directly together is valid. I mean, Frank stayed with him. They trained. He exchanged information, an entire booklet of a whole repertoire of information, and in a sense like an entire syllabus, like a Frank Dukes syllabus, and then was kind of bestowed those various titles and that kind of thing that's involved with Dukes Root. And I know after their breaking, the thing is, and I'm just gonna be dead honest, is this community, ninjutsu, has the internet problem, and that is, whatever happens is going to go on the internet and it's going to stay there forever, and that's that. And I've went on the internet being like, hey guys, leave me alone, and that's even there forever. Adam's had those same run-ins and those same dealings, and but I think he did his due diligence in that he did come from a very legitimate Taekwondo background. He has worked with some top-notch martial artists that are involved in also film, like Sean Kane. I think it's Sean Kanan is his name. Sure. For example, stayed at his house and trained and accredited in Black Belt Magazine a lot of his coming back to martial arts so rapidly, and his successes, on film, and in the ability to get right back into the groove. Because I mean, dude, he was the bad boy of karate, man. Is the bad boy of karate. I'm not taking that away. You know what I'm saying? Get my ass kicked. And so he did. He brought him back up to to speed, up to date. And when he worked with Frank, you could tell that that from it, Frank also kind of developed a new ability. The younger kin, because I think Adam may be like one of Frank's like kind of youngest, like under the wing guys. A lot of the other guys who have been under his wing are quite a bit older, and I think, dude, Adam's like 38 or something. I mean, he's in his later 30s, so he's definitely worthy of being a. Yeah. I mean, that's again, when you got a kid who grew up in Taekwondo and was a 10, 12-year-old Taekwondo nut, and can still perform the same, the same quality kicks and that kind of thing. Because again, a lot of it is acrobatics, and that takes a lot of physical strength, dude. And so, the guy's up to snuff. That's what you got to say. Now, he developed Honeybee as kind of his martial arts name, but then as it was kind of Honeybee Taekwondo, Honeybee Adam McKinley, but his stepping into ninjutsu when he got involved with Frank Dukes and that sort of thing, he embraced ninjutsu and wanted to very quickly kind of like apply ninjutsu to what he was doing, and like a lot of people do, they'll restructure everything they do when they find that ninjutsu wasn't that martial art, but instead it was the thing that you apply and put over like a construct. And then they're like, oh, and they do that, and Adam did that, and so he moved forward with it. And what's cool is
I disappeared. Hey, here's comment from BM Carpet Cleaning and Floor Care Services. Adam took back everything he said about Frank, and he also said the accusations by Dukes were pretty brutal towards Frank in March of 2022. So Adam and Frank had a good relationship, and I've talked to both guys. They had a falling out, and then I think Adam was trying to get back in Frank's good graces. I don't know where they're at right now, but as critical as Adam has been about Frank, he still gives credit, and I respect that. Somebody should always give credit where credit's due. So even if they had like an ugly falling out, he will still say Frank literally made him a much better martial artist at the end of the day.
Yes, dude. A lot of people have said that. A lot of people that I've interviewed who are Dukes Rue say that whatever it is that they were doing, whatever background they came from, when they applied the Dukes Rue way, which he has his whole way that you take whatever it is and then you apply his system, which is the FAST system, and from there you build your triad of force, man. And the whole symbology of the triangles and the different symbols in the middle of them and all that, each student takes on and embraces those and embodies these fundamentals from FAST and his other things. He's got the Frank Dukes Brotherhood or Fellowship rather, and like the Iron Circle and that stuff. And dude, like one guy who was an excellent person to interview sometime, you should bring him on sometime, real cool guy, is Ravenhawk Kane. He's a musician at heart and a martial artist at work. You know what I mean? So it's like he's got fighters under him who are in amateur fighting doing successfully, and he's a very successful guy as well. He's got a very successful gym, and he's involved in that Frank Dukes Fellowship. And some of the things that he's trained on with Frank sound out of this world, dude, are like wild, like things you almost wouldn't believe, where you're like, really? He made you do that? He made you do that? But you talk with Raven Kane and he's not joking, he's not full of it, he's telling the truth. And you're like, dude, with all your heart, Frank Dukes made you jump out of a moving car? And he's like, yes. And I'm just like, dude, I believe it. I believe it. And I believe it even more so because now I know Frank directly. I know the other folks directly. I've spoken to other students and stuff like that. Does that mean that Frank today is going to take a brand new student and say, jump out of this moving car? No. That was a situation, and it was put together, and it was for Ravenhawk Kane, man. And that's cool, dude. I tried stuff too. We wanted to do different things. You know, can we climb this building side? Can I rappel off the side of this building and do this and that? You know, we did stupid stuff out in Colorado Springs in the mountains and stuff too. A lot of rappelling we probably shouldn't have been doing in areas that we probably shouldn't be doing them. And but to us, that was what it was. You know, it was kind of like sneaking into the area, getting in some sort of training, facilitating some sort of real life subterfuge. And to students who have worked with Frank, who have been able to do that, they will tell you all day long that their training is better, that they're better people, they're better martial artists, and that fast system has proven itself to them.
One last guy, very popular in the ninja world. Thoughts and or experiences with Stephen K. Hayes?
Oh, I love Stephen Hayes. Okay, he to me is like Grandpa Santa Claus Ninja. Okay, he embodies everything that the American ninja could be. Okay, he went to the places, he did the time, he underwent all the training, he proved himself during testing, and he has facilitated extremely successfully a multitude of programs that have evolved to this day, to where he has retired successfully, built a very successful business, and has moved that practice on, and now can retire, relax, and be retired Grandpa Santa Ninja, which is even better because now he's like that much more chill.
Sure.
Dude, he is the man, you know, and I think from the point when he started Shadows of Iga, when he left Hatsumi and said, you know, I've got what I want from this training. You know, he wanted very specifically Togagure-ryu ninjutsu syllabus and that in a sense, that banner, you know, that he wanted to be proficient in the 3 schools that tied directly to the ninjutsu syllabus that was within the 9 schools of what at the time Hatsumi was developing into the Bujinkan. This was pre-Bujinkan. And he trained again with a lot of those old school cats, and he took that knowledge and he came back and he did Shadows of Iga. That moved into, essentially turned into Quest, you know, Toshindo, built out of Quest centers. Toshindo is his, I want to say Toshindo is his contribution to the martial arts world, because it's unique, just as Jeet Kune Do would be unique to Bruce Lee. Stephen K. Hayes has Toshindo, and it's a successful, proven, practical, street applicable, and worthwhile martial art. From the point that Stephen decided America needs more ninjutsu, he did us a huge service. And from that point on, he's you know, that did it. Like, that made his mark. And I think from that point, you know, he kind of became untouchable. You know, got to do crazy stuff on Discovery Channel. You know, he proved like subterfuge ninja tactics on Discovery Channel, which was really cool. I think on a couple different occasions. He got to be a direct bodyguard for the Dalai Lama during, you know, some transitions and that sort of thing. He's done very incredible traveling to kind of add to his repertoire as well, to where he can take what he does and then train and share and travel as well. And then his seminars, you know, he really spread ninjutsu, man. So it's like, dude, Stephen K. Hayes is that guy right there is #1 American ninja. American ninja, #1.
Yeah. I always refer to him as the real American ninja for good reason. Hey, one last question here. Like, how come you don't do your ninja podcast anymore? Like, why'd you take it down?
Well, it's still available. It's still out there on podcast notes, but it just became too much of kind of a headache, because it almost as if it became the battleground for the mainline arguments in ninjutsu. And I kind of did it to myself when I did a show, and we called it "Is Bujinkan a Cult? Is the Bujinkan a Cult?" And that didn't set well with so many people. And from that point on, it was kind of like it felt like people wanted ninjutsu podcast to like make a choice. Like, am I Masaaki Hatsumi and legitimate? Do I believe in legitimate ninjutsu, which is Bujinkan or any kan, you know, Genbukan, Geninkan, I think, or Jenkinkan, Geninkan, I can't recall, Genbukan, etc. You know, or are you like a neo ninja was what they used to call them. But then, you know, that fell off, and then they just started calling them ninjas. So it's like, which is one that I don't really care for, but that's what it ended up being, is that the, you know, Ninja podcast is kind of what it turned it out in, you know, and people were calling it and that kind of thing. So I said to myself, I was like, well, let's change it up. You know, we'll just call it NP, or just call it Ninja Podcast. And then we'll talk about all the stuff, you know, the 80s ninja stuff, all the, you know, the ninja fan base, the folklore, the truths, the martial arts side, just everything ninja. And it just didn't take well. But I mean, I'll throw this out there. I think what it is ultimately is I just got so tired of a few key people that it's like, dude, I just had to take just like, psh. I realized that online harassment and people stalking me and making blogs about me and painting me in this like very cruel light and talking very ill about my family, saying that I've like abandoned my daughters and stuff. Dude, I live with my children. I've got a happy situation. You know, everybody has their family stuff. You know, I went through a divorce, and it's like that, but you know, like what the hell? So I have no idea. And there's so many things that started tying into where, you know, I've got like, I have people talking about my kids online, and it really bugged the shit out of me. And there was a very few people that were like, you know, saying that I'm weak and that I'm, you know, like you know, that I'm just a pussy and da da da. But it's like, dude, I'm right here. I mean, I'm at 115 Holland Lane in Tunnel Hill, Illinois, you know, and I've been here the whole time. And they've doxed me a handful of times to be like, well, here's where he's at. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you where I'm at. Like they want to act like it's a fight to be had. But I have to be the one to engage them. I have to challenge them in order to prove my worth and yada yada. And I'm just like, dude, this is so ridiculous. Like, you guys are absolutely ridiculous. These detractors in ninjutsu, and they have blogs, they have cool little areas that they hide out, they have neat little groups on, you know, different social media outlets and whatever. And you know, dude, they kind of ruined it. They just kind of took Ninjutsu podcast and they fucked it up like they like to do with everything else. You know, they made it a laugh. And then when it was like anything I tried to do to just go away or just, you know, set aside from it, it was like that just made it worse. It was like as if anything that I did could be turned into a story where, you know, I'm an asshole. So if I'm just an asshole at the end of every, you know, attempt to do something within ninjutsu online, then why even try? So it was like, dude, F this. So the few people that I had been studying and training with anyway, like the one guy who I called a student, you know, who just came out and basically we did everything that you do within karate. You know, we punched the makiwari board and we, you know, used the mukjong and you know, I showed him how to train with nunchaku and not bash himself in the face. You know, just basic shit. And you know, and he's recognized by Independent Martial Arts Federation. And very recently, I've seen that, you know, now they're attacking the Independent Martial Arts Federation because I'm not around for them to make fun of. So I see them try to poke at me and blame shit on me and say like, oh, you're doing this and you're doing it. And I was like, dude, I'm at home playing a handpan. Right now I do new stuff, man. I play handpan and music, and I have 2 successful albums. I've just recently really stepped into my Scottish heritage this last like year and a half, and I wear kilts and stuff now. So I've
When are
made
you,
friends
John?
with really great. Yeah, I'm a Scot through and
Yeah,
through.
what
And
clan?
it took me Buchanan, Clan Buchanan.
All right, I'm Gun Clan Robinson, last name Gun Clan.
Gun Clan. All right, cool. So you know your tartan and all that cool stuff. that to me, that right there just made so much more sense once I realized. I was like, you know what the problem is, man, is I'm putting all of my energy into martial art, and I love martial art, and I still do, and put great amount of energy into it. But once I realized that there's something else that just is going to give so much more to how I honestly feel, and that was just embracing and being like, all right, man, you know what? I'm a Scot. I got to start talking about and doing the stuff that my grandpa was talking about back in the day. I got to do right by my family, and put the kilt on and just be a man about it, and do it. And that's changed a lot of my outlook now, because when you're a guy playing a street performing situation, playing an instrument, and you're in a kilt, that you think you get made fun of for martial arts. Try being the guy in a dress. But the cool thing about it is you could say at this point, you're like, hey, this is something you don't understand, and then you can change people's attitude and maybe give them an appreciation for a new culture or a new art form or a new thing that they didn't know. And for me, martial arts was satisfying that need. But when Ninjutsu podcasts fell off and these things started to become detractors, that's when I started to realize that, like, I need to up my dues for Clan Buchanan. I need to be involved in what's going on out there. I need to put information into the Monthly Herald and join the throwing club and be involved in the Scottish heritage that, I've been trying to like do something else to like fill that, because when I was growing up, I thought it was silly and stuff. My grandpa had, this like stuff. I didn't get it, because I was a little kid, I was 5 and 6, and 7. And when he passed away when I was like 12 or 13. And I didn't get to have those conversations to be like, what is the manhood of a Scot? What is that like? How do we prove ourselves? How do we embrace and embody modern lifestyle, knowing that we have this blood in us of a culture so rich and thick and just fierce. I mean, dude, weaponry is included in our clothing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's as close to being a friggin' Mandalorian as you can get, I think, in the real day, in like the real day life. I mean, being a Scotsman.
Highlander. Are you a Highlander?
I would, yeah. So I would be family. If you look at my Watt family line, it's my Watt family line is just on the line, but they would be essentially Lowlander. But if you go on to my father's side and up, there's McLaren's and McLeod and a couple other mix. There's all these different names. And once I started doing Ancestry with Ancestry.com and all that stuff like you can do, then the names started popping up. And that's when I was like, dude, I'm not just Scottish. I'm like 70% Scottish, because it's on both my mom and dad's side. And I have just names and names and names to go back in. And I misspoke. I meant McLaren. And it became this infatuation that changed from what the ninjas did to what actually happened on the land and what took place in these people, because man, that's what's in my blood, dude. And people nowadays talk about how DNA unlocks this whole codex of truths within, and that you can, like, so to speak, sense the memories and the feelings of your ancestors, and that, and even indigenous people to this day speak in such a very similar way. They reach inside to speak to their ancestors.
Funny enough,
and I realize,
funny enough, John,
can't do that with ninja.
Funny enough, John, that's how I became the Viking Samurai, through DNA tests and ancestry, because a lot, like, just on its surface, I'm really German and Korean, but the bloodline, actually, there's Northern European and Japanese as well. So, because people ask about the name, it's like, well, hell, this is actually legitimate bloodlines here, so I tap into that. But they'll make fun of the name. When you talk about like those people online who, it went so far where you actually took down the podcast, I get a lot of negativity these days. Like, literally, people want to fight me because I defend Steven Seagal. You know, when they say, oh, he did this, he did that, he did this, I said, look, those are allegations. We don't know the truth. People literally want to fight me because I, you know, just defend him in some way. That's how stupid the online world is, you know, and it's just like, come on, what are you in 5th grade, man?
Yeah.
That whole
No,
cancel culture thing is bizarre. So bizarre
Yeah.
out there. Like what they did to your podcast, they try to do it to David, our good friend Vic Mignogna, and it's a cult. Like they get to this thing, and it's I don't understand. It's a very weak way of approaching the world, in my opinion.
Yeah. Digital creators are kind of we are kind of plagued by that. It ends up being kind of like it's almost like the war that has to be played by any digital creator, by any true and legitimate podcaster, because once you put your truths out there, once you put your face and your honesty out there, you're open. And once you're open, it's hunting season, dude. And you know, they you know, if there's a hunting season, they're gonna go get their deer tags and they're gonna start shooting. And I mean,
You know what,
especially
Ron,
on,
you gotta go forward with this. You gotta go forward with this mentality, brother. And me and Vike can talk about this, good or bad, as long as you're talking about me. You're waking up wondering what I did on my podcast. That's all I care about. It's my narcissism, brother. If I'm upset one day, you're thinking about me. I'm making your day. It's all that matters. So remember that.
There's
out
so
there,
much.
everybody.
Yes.
You can
There's
talk.
so much truth.
I already had
That's epic.
one guy.
You
who
know,
tried to talk.
I'll never forget what Don the Dragon Wilson told me. Of course, 11-time world kickboxing champion, been in so many martial arts movies. He said, look, David, the worst thing somebody could say to me would be Don who? So if they know who I am, even if they talk shit about my movies, they know who I am and they're talking about me. That's a good thing. So I was like, yeah, makes sense, Don.
Dude, that's absolute. That was the one thing that kind of kept me just even going on and hanging on, even to kind of that last moment where I was like, it's not about walking away. It's just about, I need time to do a different project. Like I need to reset. And when I made those decisions, I did. I had so many people hit me up that were like, hey man, you know, I liked that show. I was involved in that. I did dig that. You know, screw those guys. Like, I can't believe that, you know, they kind of were bummed out that I let it get to me. And I, you know, man, I gotta say to them, I'm like, yeah, dude, it did, and you're right. And I wish it wouldn't have. But at some point, you know, people just, you know, we make decisions, and you know, we got to stick by them. So when it was like, when I was ready to walk, you know, I walked. Now I get involved in my own little way, you know, like I like to poke fun here and there, or just, you know, jump into a chat and say what I got to say, or you know, if I see somebody who's just on the right path but just getting, you know, blasted, I'll just show up on the side and be like, hey, you know, what you're looking for and what you're into is this. You know, what sounds to me like, you know, you would do well in Duke's Rue. Sounds to me like you do well with Krista Jacobson. Sounds to me like you do good with you know, whoever, whatever. Von Donk, I recommend to a lot of people too, if they want to go Bujinkan but don't want to be part of the politics. You know, and it's just there's that sort of thing where it's like, I have tried to carry on and you know, relight the torch, but it's like, could I bring back something like Ninjutsu Podcast? I think it did its thing, and that's what it is. And I've talked about trying to bring stuff like it back, because I did get involved with Honeybee. You know, Adam wanted to bring me into Honeybee because he's like, hey man, you know, your information is critical. He's like, you know, you can help. And he's like, so join Honeybee. And I was like, I don't know. And then he was kind of like, you're joining Honeybee. And it was like, all right, dude. And, you know, he's a very gracious dude. And I'm grateful. You know, he sent me a cool, like ninja, like he called it a care package. And it had this excellent sai from Okinawa, like traditional sai from Okinawa. It sent me really cool, you know, cool stuff. Nice. And he's like, you know, be a part of Honeybee. And the thing is, though, is that Honeybee's not online. It's not really out there and available for everybody, because it's again, you know, when you look at the greater scheme, you got to kind of do this in a different way. And it's just not online, you know. And if somebody is seeking it, they'll find it, because there's a route to find it. You can surf and end up to it, especially if it's in your area. but there's so many groups who kind of got kicked back in the same fashion, dude, in the same fashion. But I agree, man. It's like if those haters, if those people still to this day are typing about you, are still to this day going, where are you? They're thinking about you. Their mind is stuck on you. And I don't know, dude. In some ways, it's creepy.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is, John, though? You can live like me, a pretty minuscule, insignificant life until, of course, I met the Viking samurai. I always tell them I'm like that fish that hooks on the side of the shark and hangs and eats the,
and hangs
the
there.
stuff that comes out of the shark. Yeah, that's me. Look, man, if you guys want to do say anything horrible about me, you want to post stuff on the internet, do everything. Just make me feel important somewhere in this world. Please make me your enemy or your friend. I don't care.
You know what's funny, Brian? I think since we got connected to each other, we had pulled each other into each of our own networks and like had amazing experience and met amazing people, like with the people I know and the people you know, and us getting together and trying to work on all these different projects, which we could talk more about like in future podcasts as these things manifest into reality next year. But we've got involved in some crazy ass shit together, man. And that's part of this podcast is going to share that adventure along with these cool guests and, like John sharing his ninja exploits and everything else.
Hey, Viking, they probably probably wouldn't believe the things that are transpiring right now. It's so ridiculous. And
they would not believe, but we'll have some of these guests that we've gotten involved with in the future. Anyway, This has been a great time, man. You did get a late start, but we got some really good stuff, John. And I don't know if you want to say any last thing related to ninjas or kilts or anything else.
Exactly. Right. No, dude, and I'll tell you, dude, I appreciate the opportunity because there was a point where I was like, I want to get out there. I want to tell folks, how I feel about this and do get involved, look into the good stuff and stay true to the good paths. And I think you guys are doing an excellent thing by encouraging, to just stay true to yourself and stick with it. And your guys' energy will definitely, dude, you guys are manifesting some wonderful stuff. Viking, dude, you're on some incredible stuff right now, my man. And you're helping out, making incredible stuff. Bringing my man here onto the podcast and that, I see you guys as, with like the guests you've had just recently and in the future. It's way cool because you're bringing a side of truth and just a side of get a grip of the humanity to it. There's a human element to the ninjutsu community that can be seen and sometimes is forgotten. And I think that it's awesome that you're bringing that humanity back to it, my dude.
Oh yeah, thanks for sharing all your experience here.
Yeah, dude. Plus, hey, and then we could talk about kilts in the future, my man. So
Oh, dude, we got to go to. I actually want to go and see our castle. We got a castle, dude. It was pretty pathetic though.
Edinburgh,
like back in the day, and then it got destroyed.
Yeah,
but it wasn't even that cool.
Yeah,
but we have a castle.
That's exactly, dude. And that's the thing. It's such a rich history. I agree. Yes, that's going to be my next steps as well, dude. I totally am behind you 100%.
At Loch Ness in our kilts, searching for the Loch
That's
Ness.
What we're going to do.
And the Viking samurai
dude,
out there with a snorkel on, looking for it with a sword, ready to fight it. It'll be awesome.
Yes. Now we're talking. We'll have the battle of the Viking samurai and Loch Ness. I see where we're going with this, dude. I'm so helping out. We'll have a wee sip of dram, my friend. Excellent. But yeah, dude, my phone is gonna die, so so we can get a good edit. I really appreciate your time for letting me ramble on.
Oh, I think his phone died. Well, thanks, John. Thanks for joining, man. We're gonna cut this thing. Last comment, workaholic. Dude, you're living the dream, actually making movies and interviewing cool, interesting folks. Yeah, this is a lot of fun for sure, man. Oh, John's back. I think he's going to say bye to everybody.
I was. It's like I was like, I better do this before it cuts out. But I did. I appreciate everybody and your patience, and thanks so much for dealing with all my technical issues. And thank you so much, guys. It's really been a pleasure to hang out with you guys.
Thanks, man. It's been a blast.
Excellent. This is gonna my phone's gonna die, so I'm gonna toodaloo, my friends. You guys have everybody love and prosper and just share love, guys. That's all I could say is share love. Share love. Please,
Appreciate
please
it, John.
share love.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend there. Thanks so much, man.
Awesome. Peace out, guys.
See you later,
Yeah,
brother.
later, man. So, guys, make sure to join us next week. Like I mentioned earlier, this podcast has been going for a while, but we are having Ron Hall, Sifu Alan Goldberg on, and there's going to be a big announcement. It's going to be a good opportunity for a lot of you martial artists out there. So make sure Saturdays, every 12 o'clock Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific, and whatever time, depending on where you're in Europe.
All right, everyone. See you later.